We're proud to bring you this live presentation on Racer TV of the 50th anniversary of the Progressive Grand National Cross Country Series, presented by Specialized, an AM8 National Championship. 50 years of world premier off-road racing. 50 years of battling the gnarliest woods racing on the planet. It's time to start a new chapter. The next 50 years starts now.
GNCC is back on RacerTV.com. After the summer break, CJ Raceway, Newburgh, West by God, Virginia. 50 years of racing GNCC. And Bryson Neal is set and poised. Wants to capture a 2025 title, but it's Walker Fowler coming off the big win at Snowshoe. Who's it going to be? Here today. It all starts right here, right now on RacerTV.com. Are you ready to go? GNCC Racing! The 50th season of Grand National Cross Country, and this is round number 10. We find ourselves back in West by God, Virginia. Mikey Waynes alongside internationally known, fresh off the ISDE, Johnny Gallagher. Johnny, how was, I'll use air quotes here, summer break for you?
Yeah, summer break went quickly, and obviously spending the last couple of weeks in Italy. Great experience. Love getting to travel. Obviously, just a kid from Ohio that GNCC and motorsports has taken me some great places. But it's good to be back home here in the States, and it's good to be back GNCC racing. It always feels good to be home, and man, we got some hype coming into this weekend for sure. Well,
the Dunlop Buckwheat 100 coming off the summer break. It was actually Walker Fowler who picked up that win at Snowshoe, but the man still on a mission, still very in control. A 40-plus point lead, Bryson Neal.
Yeah, it's Bryson's really been in control this season since very early on. He's just reeled off win after win, and even when he's not winning, he's right there in the catbird seat, sitting on the podium. Really, to your point, we were kind of looking at the points coming in today. You pointed out, you said, oh man, Bryson Neal with a 10th at Snowshoe. Obviously, it's been a few months. Many have forgotten about it, but I assure you, Bryson Neal has not. His worst finish of this 2025 season with that 10th place, and his nearest championship competitor, Walker Fowler, reeling off a big win. Really just a commanding win, looking like the Walker Fowler of old. And what was a 2-race lead going in is now just a 1 race and a couple extra points. And that just goes to show how quickly things can change. This is still Bryson Neal's championship to lose, but think back to what happened here roughly 365 days ago. Huge point swing, and anything can happen when the green flag drops here today.
Johnny, a lot of other players there. Wyatt Wilkin, he's had success here. We'd be remiss not to mention him. And, of course, Hunter Hart having a much better season than last, but still a season of some ups and downs for him. It's silly season. Anything can happen, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned Wyatt Wilkin, a name that has to be at the top of everyone's list to perform well here, grabbing a big career first win here last year, 1 year ago. A great day for him. And, we've talked about this before, Mikey. When you have a special place in your heart where you have success, a track that you really like, it tends to manifest good results. Yep. And I think we're expecting some big things out of Wyatt Wilkin today. You mentioned the international flair. A lot of these riders coming back from a race in France just last week. Wyatt Wilkin, Walker Fowler, Braxton Gross, John Glada Jr. The list goes on and on and on. And a lot of these guys are a little bit jet lagged, but they're going to be coming out here trying to prove something. Another rider we can't fail to mention, Josh Merritt, up in there in that battle. He and Wyatt Wilkin currently sitting 4th and 5th in the points, glued to each other, battling each other week in and week out. And to your point, Hunter Hart, obviously a rider. He's already grabbed a win so far this year. He's having a good season, but the consistency may be lacking a little bit. Today, the first race of the second half of the season, an opportunity for him to get that consistency going and propel himself a little closer to those two riders in front of him in the number 1 and 2 spots in the points. So it's like a whole new season here today, folks. Round 1, we say everybody's a champion. Well, we've got some big points gaps, but a big opportunity for these guys to close those gaps up and get back to battling.
It's going to be a good one. Want to show some love to the XC2. You'd mentioned Braxton Gross a moment ago. He's had some great battles with Alex Tiemann. Of course, I believe it was Gross coming off the win to close out Snowshoe before we went into summer break, edging out Alex Tiemann.
Yeah, and those two have really been battling for the lion's share of the wins in that XC2 class and battling over the championship. Alex Tiemann in control of that one right now, but Braxton, a young rider from the West Coast, really his only second year in kind of taking GNCC seriously. He's progressing quickly. He's young. He's very talented, working very hard, but your defending champion in that XC2 class, Alex Tiemann, not going to make it easier for him. We'll keep an eye on that, and so many other good battles out there on the racetrack today, and we're looking forward to getting it started.
Well, Johnny, they've heard enough from us. We want to see what these guys are going to be facing as far as a track goes here today. So for that, we're going to throw it to our trail boss, Jared Bolton, for a Yamaha Racing track description.
Well, thanks, guys. Summer break's over, and we're back to GNCC racing, and we're kicking it off here at the Buckwheat. Yeah, this was a new track for us about 5 years ago, but it's got a long history, had lots of local races here over the years, and you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say there's a little something for everyone, but that's really true here at the Buckwheat. You got some really fast field sections, you got some fast wood sections, and you got some tight wood sections, and then when you get on the backside of the property, it gets a little rocky, a little more technical, so there truly is something for everyone out there. Now, the other thing about this place is the dirt. It's a really unique mix. When you think of West Virginia, you think rock. But when you come to the Buckwheat, it's not super rocky. Like I said, there's a one section that gets a little rocky and technical on the other side. But by and far, this is actually some of the best dirt you're ever going to find in West Virginia. And you can even find a little bit of sand at this place, which seems absolutely crazy. But you get a little bit of sand mixed in that clay, and guess what? You got some primo conditions here at the Buckwheat. It's going to be a great weekend of racing. Can't wait to see it all unfold, and it's great to be back at GNCC. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Jared. Now we've seen what these riders are going to face out there today. A very dynamic racetrack. We know this place, with the conditions, any conditions can be challenging. Definitely no different today. It's going to be a battle, and we're going to let our man Mikey Waynes head down to the starting line, do some 10-second calls, and we're going to get all of the racing action underway, and you're going to be able to follow along with us live on Racer TV.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a night. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com.
Get ready.
All right. We are about ready to set it off now as we welcome everyone watching at home on Racer TV. Got the dual monitors up, a little SMX, a little GNCC here on a Saturday. Why not? Do it to it. As you tune in, we are now ready to introduce our starting row for the XC1 Pro Class. So, a shout out to our good buddy watching at home, Don Hampton. This one's for you. Without further ado, your starting row for the XC1 Pro Class, the number 1 out of Bidwell, Ohio, riding aboard the Phoenix Racing Yamaha. Say hello to the Bidwell Bullet, Bryson Neal. Up next, the number 2, coming off a big win before summer break at Snowshoe out of Rogers, Ohio, on the WFR Kenda and Fly Racing backed Yamaha, Walker Fowler. Up next, the number 6 out of Newfield, New York, riding aboard the HHR Fly Racing and Quad Tech backed Yamaha, Hunter Hart. Up next, the number 4 out of Akron, Ohio, riding aboard the B&R Motorsports GBC and Merritt Racing backed Yamaha, Josh Merritt. Up next, the number 3 out of Hillsboro, Ohio, on the SBR Pierce Performance and Kenda backed Yamaha, Wyatt Wilkin. Up next, the number 5 out of Elk Ridge, Maryland, on the B&R Motorsports Kenda and Fearless backed Yamaha, Stephen Harrell. Riding to the line next, the number 18 out of Acme, Pennsylvania, riding aboard the Action Off-Road Kenda and Custom Access backed Yamaha, Jay Shadron. The 7-1-2 out of Waxhaw, North Carolina, on the Action Off-Road Pierce Performance backed Phoenix Racing Yamaha, John Galata Jr. The 5-2-1 out of Waverly, West by God, Virginia, on the Ober Moose Racing Parts Unlimited backed Honda, the Gator, Adam McGill. Up next, the number 10 out of Sunbury, Pennsylvania, riding aboard the Action Off-Road Amsoil and CB Racing backed Yamaha, Chris Borich. The number 9 out of Casca, Pennsylvania, riding aboard the GBC Elka Moose Racing and JMR backed Honda, the Cobra, Jared McClure. The 1-7-1 out of Salisbury, North Carolina, riding aboard the Phoenix Racing Yamaha, Grayson Eller. We say hello and welcome to the world of GNCC here today, the 609 out of West Hampton, New Jersey, on the Yamaha, Tyler Marlin. The 703 out of Petersburg, Indiana, riding aboard the Action Off-Road Maxxis and Lone Star Racing backed Yamaha, Austin Abney. The 246 out of Walker, West Virginia, on the Sturdy Vant Racing Maxxis and Moose Racing backed Yamaha, Brandon Owens. The 714 out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, on the Bulletproof Doors, Kenda Tires, and Senge Graphics backed Yamaha, Ronnie Rush. And last but not least, we say hello to the 733 out of Brookfield, Ohio, on the Richardson Racing backed Yamaha, the Coltrane Cole Richardson. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your starting row for the XC1 Pro Class here at the Dunlop Motorcycle Tires Buckwheat 100 GNCC. And as our riders take their spots on the starting line, It is DJ Judd exiting the Mobile Entertainment Activation Transport. He jumps into the Yamaha R Max 1000, throws on the 50th anniversary gold helmet. And this is where we like to say, DJ Judd, remove the meat. As DJ Judd makes his way off of the starting line, all eyes will fixate on the outside line of turn number 1 as we got a thumbs up from Jeremy Holbert and the track crew. So now all eyes fixate on Ricky Towery on the outside of turn number 1 as Ricky now steps forward, gets his footing. He will look down at his watch. And now he lets our riders know 1 minute. 1 minute until we're ready to go. Buckwheat 100 GNCC Racing. 17 riders in total in the XC1 Pro class as Ricky now looks down at his watch, keeps an eye on the time. And there it is. Blue flag waves, blue flag waves. Shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. As we are just about ready to roll now at the Buckwheat 100. And I got to ask you, West Virginia, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Oh, that's pretty good, but boy, we have been away from it for way too long. We're coming off summer break. Get loud, get proud. I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds for row number 1, the XC1 Pro. Bang, and we're off. As the riders out of the XC1, jockey for position. Josh Merritt in a good position. No, Jay Shadron, or will it be? Oh, that was the number 6 of Hunter Hart, grabbing a hole shot and an early lead, and it's John Glotta getting tangled up with Chris Borich. They're still trying to get him untangled. The 246 of Brandon Owens in the mix as well. Finally, all 3 riders break free, and now we turn our attention to the XC2 class in 10 seconds. B&R Motorsports Whole Shot Award up for grabs. Keaton Henderson, Dalton Keys, Andrew Banofsky, Danik Paquin, Andre Williams, Braxton Gross, Kenny Schick, Alex Tiemann, Alex Elioff, Jeremiah Wolf, Chase Allison. Coming in hot, that's the 1-4-2 of Andrew Banofsky. Grabbing that whole shot and early lead right there. Grabs that B&R Motorsports Whole Shot Award as we reset the deck with the College A, 16-19 in. Wait on the signal from Ricky Towery. Got one rider looks like off the machine out of that XC2 class. Row number 3, keep an eye on Ricky Towery at the top of turn number 1, waiting on the OK safe to race. Riders back on the machine, still having some struggles. They're off and rolling. 10 seconds. College A, 16-19. Talon Stout, Cameron Mulholland, Trevor Meadows, Ryan Wilhelm, Caden Lambruno, Gavin Mann, Evan Osborne, Andrew Smallwood, Parker Henderson, Trip Alexo, Brody Poland, Aiden Jones, Jordan Berg, and no doubt about this one, that is the 7-11 of Jordan Berg, grabbing that whole shot and early lead right there as we turn our attention now. One rider getting tangled up in turn number 3. 10 seconds. Junior A, 20 plus, David Machisco, Connor Brandt, Ryan Hendershot, Jeremy Ladon, Dylan Trigg, Colton Kushcha, Trevor Furby, Briggs Lizelle, Garrison Poe, Slater Collins, Joe Booker, Jason Rude, David Witt, Trace Furby, Gavin Tipple, Dominic Stevens, 2-1-2 out in front. That's the 037 on the helmet. That's going to be Connor Brandt out of Rogers, Ohio, grabbing that whole shot, and things getting deep in turn number 2. The 527. Wiggle, wiggle. Still not moving. That is Damon Greishuk out of Batesville, Indiana. Here we go. Vet A, 28 plus, coming at you. Henry Moore, Alan Blavos, Christopher Kirby, Simon Morin, Zach Bothwell, J.D. Higgins, Fred Marley, and Justin Willis. Looked like, man, that might have been J.D. Higgins. No, I don't think it was. I think it might have been Zach Bothwell grabbing that one. Stay to the inside of that second turn. Off and rolling. It is deep on the outside of that second turn. Try to stay on the inside of that one if you can. This is Senior A, Dirk DeCerci. Papa B, Jeff Pickens. That's going to be the 419 of Brad Whitehead. Grabbing that whole shot and early lead right there. Senior A, 40 plus. Coming up next, Junior B, 19 plus. 10 seconds. Tyler Hinderleader, Cole Tedder, Evan Young, Ian Burns, Colton Dooley, Evan Lohmiller, Adam Safel, Austin Newsom, Tristan Howell, Blake Moore, and Luke Wilson. Around the first turn we go, and the 587 of Adam Safel out of Somerset, Ohio, grabs that whole shot and early lead right there. Again, guys, that inside line in turn number 2, that's going to be your best bet. You get outside of that, they've been getting buried. Newsom hung up on the hay bale. He says, push it off to the side. I got to regroup, man. Wait on the okay. There it is. 10 seconds. College B, 16 to 18. Keelan Eichelberger, James Barger, Andrew Adams, J.N. Mittner, Austin Miller, Trip Marino, Barrett Childers, Evan Bridgewater, Connor Humphreys, Eli Edgar, Brady Shepard, Quentin Gauker, Landon Kosler, and Owen Sullivan. 113 of Keelan Eichelberger out of Thomas, West Virginia. On that Sturdy Vant Racing back ride, it's going to grab that whole shot and early lead. I think we got 2 rows left, I believe. 10 seconds. Senior B, 40 plus, Aaron Delancey, Jason Noble, Nicholas Ringer, Joe Dehart, Chris Carson, Robert Perry, Matthew Hartwell, Jamie Bonner, Chuck Glaken, Chad Wallace, and Robert Bennett. Oh, getting hung up on the first turn. Whole shot's going to go to the 415. That is Matthew Hartwell out of Virginia, putting that B&R Motorsports and Fly Racing back ride to good use. Vet B, 28 plus. 10 seconds. Tanner Davisic, Zachary DeNoble, Carl LeBlanc, Cody Wolford, Frederick Harder, Justin Ratliff, Barry Nicholson, Joe Rutherford, Brent Pennington, Tyler Miller, and Amy Dunlap. Here we go. Around the first turn we go. And that's the 092 of Tanner Davisic out of Lexington, North Carolina, on that B&R Motorsports and GBC back ride. We are still pushing an ATV. Do not cross that starting line, folks. Do not cross that starting line. Still pushing an ATV through. If you cross behind them. We'll hang tight here for just a second. Still trying to get her fired up. Don't cross in front of them. Cross behind them. All right, that is going to wrap things up for us here on the Racer TV broadcast. For a moment, we'll get in a word from our sponsors and be back with more from the Buckwheat 100 GNCC.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a night. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 50th Annual Progressive Insurance Grand National Cross Country Racing Series. This is round number 10, the 2025 Dunlop Buckwheat 100. My name is Jackson Burrell. I'm going to be alongside Johnny G, Zach Heron, and, of course, Mikey Waynes to bring you today's racing action. Boys, it is good to be back here in GNCC Racing.
Man, I tell you what, Jackson, I've learned not to ask how was the summer break because nobody takes a break over summer. They just go back to work trying to get things figured out and to figure out how they can make these final four rounds their final four rounds. I'm excited. We've had great racing all weekend long. Mother Nature, of course, she's excited to be back with us at GNCC Racing as well. A little bit of rain starting to fall, but man, what an incredible course and an incredible facility we have here for the Buckwheat 100.
Yeah, Mother Nature heard that we were back GNCC Racing. Of course, she had to come get in on the fun. So a little bit of rain this morning is what we woke up to here in Newburgh, West Virginia. But been a good day of it so far. Saw some sprinkles, saw a little bit of rain, but nonetheless, I think these guys got a great track. For everybody at home, a possibility of some weather rolling in, so going to be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point, if you're not prepared for rain at GNCC, you're not prepared for GNCC. But let's show you some of the best as far as preparation goes. We've got our pros out on course. We want to show you exactly how things got kicked off with our specialized start recap. And this is going to be a big one. Potential for more rain to be coming up over the next few hours. everybody excited to be back. Wyatt Wilkin, one of the fan favorites. Your XC1 Pro, it was a drag race heading into turn one. A good jump from the Gator, Adam McGill, but watch that inside. Josh Merritt, Bryson Neal doing a little bit of bar banging. I believe that's Jay Shad up there as well, but Hunter Hart a little wide in turn one, but headed into turn two where that hole shot line is, he is credited with your hole shot. Josh Merritt into the number 2 spot. Austin Abney with a little bit of momentum after the summer break as well in that number 3 ride. Neal in 4, and I believe that was Jay Shad back in the number 5 spot as well. Then we go to the XC2 class, and by this point, it shouldn't even be surprising. Andrew Bonoski, he's got like a turbo or a rocket or something off of the start. This guy is great off of the jump, and it's going to be important today. You see how sketchy that second corner has been. They start going wide, all the momentum is taken away, and things really start to get tough after that. So Bonoski in a great spot, a couple of bike lanes between himself and the rest of the field as they headed off into the woods. And we see not only are the bikes heading into the woods, the fans as well. Johnny G, everybody wanting to catch a glimpse of this Buckwheat action.
Everybody wanted to catch a glimpse of the action. We see the track map on screen here. We know that this course, a very flowy, very fast course. Obviously, with the dirt here in West Virginia, the rain that came this morning, we've already talked about it. The rain's kind of been in and out, and the conditions from the morning race, the reports are slick. Absolutely just ice skating around out there. In fact, our track official, Lane Michael, out there on that dirt bike saying, I couldn't even keep up with the back markers on the ATVs because at least they don't have to worry about keeping up right. 12.2 miles obviously is the length. We know we're going with a 2-hour race here today, and we see the same CC parameters for XC1 and XC2 Pro. A little bit of a unique situation here, guys. A short lap 1. We actually already have lap 1 in the books on our live timing and scoring because they do go through scoring after just a couple miles of action. And leading the way, it was still that number 6 out of Newfield, New York. Hunter Hart leading the way after grabbing the early lead. Bryson Neal into the number 2 spot. Josh Merritt in 3rd. Austin Abney making a big jump up there to the number 4 spot, making some moves early. Stephen Harrell rounding out the top 5 from that XC1 Pro class. We didn't get to see it on screen, but some carnage in turn number 2 there in our Pro class. It was Chris Borich, also Brandon Owens, and John Glauda Jr. tangled up. Walker Fowler just missing that after a really bad start, and those guys were there for what seemed like ever. Took multiple course officials and race officials to actually get those machines dug out of the mud there, and that's just 2 turns in, so we know what's waiting and lurking in the woods of West Virginia here for these guys today. We see the action out on course. And look at this out front. It is still the number 6 of Hunter Hart leading the way live from our Yamaha Racing live drone, but in hot pursuit. Looks like the big number 1 of the Bidwell Bullet looking to pick up where he's left off through most of our 2025 season. Winning. A big shakeup for things for him, though, at our last round at Snowshoe with an 11th place overall finish. Just a rough day, couldn't get things going, and a big point swing, taking what was a 2-race lead down to a 12-point lead for him coming, or I'm sorry, a 42-point lead coming in today. 1 race plus 12 points, but looking very racy right now, already starting to put a lot of pressure on the number 6, Hunter Hart, who is leading the way.
Yeah, taking a look at that point standing. 232 points has Bryson Neal. 190 is Walker Fowler, but momentum's on his side. He capitalized on things at Snowshoe and walked away with that win, but that was not one of the names that I heard us talking about there off of the start. Be curious to see where Fowler was. Looks like the 11th place spot when they crossed the line on lap 1. Meanwhile, Hunter Hart, this is another rider that we've seen. A little bit of hot, a little bit of cold. A good start like this, we know what he's capable of. He's got the speed. I'm sure he's been putting in the work over the summer breaks. He's got a point to prove, and what better way to prove than to hold off the guy with the number 1 right now.
Absolutely. We've already seen Hunter Hart grab a few wins this year, and in muddy conditions, he seems to just really be on top of his game. The top 2 starting to stretch it out, but look at this running order back through the pack. These guys are just wheel-to-wheel battling for position, knowing that every second counts as those top 2 front runners starting to stretch things out just a little bit over the rest of the field.
Now, Johnny, you talked about the kind of the flowiness of this Buckwheat course. Is that something that everybody loves? Are there riders that actually like courses that you can't find a flow on?
Jared McClure. Absolutely. Jared McClure, Brandon Owens, those are some riders that I've ridden with that I can't say what they per se like, but they really thrive and excel in the stop and go, the tight stuff that has no flow. They find a way to just kind of make flow where it doesn't exist. This track's super flowy, but you could get yourself in trouble real quickly here today because of the lack of grip, you know, with the speeds that they're running and the fact that they're carrying so much speed because there's no really hairpin corners. It's just a lot of big flowing corners. You can see a very picturesque view here. The colors, as we start to get into fall, everything looks beautiful, but when you get down into the woods, the conditions are lurking. We know there's a lot of challenges for these riders, from rocks to mud to trees and everything in between. but I think it's a mixed bag. Some people really seem to like this Buckwheat facility, and others say, hey, man, I'm just trying to get through this one and get on to the next one. Each of the riders, I think, has different preferences for both conditions and courses that they favor.
Now, Jackson, one of the things that we've heard so far this weekend is slick. Now, it's not usually the thick mud that we're accustomed to here at GNCC. It seems like here at the Buckwheat, it kind of packs down, not getting quite as deep down, but these guys locking up the back wheels, they're fishtailing the back ends out. Riders really going to have to be thinking ahead, preparing early, especially for those tighter corners.
Yeah, slick is the name of the game right now, the way that we sit. But one thing that I've had on my mind all day is if this weather does come like we expect it to, if there is any rain that comes down on this track, I expect things to get absolutely treacherous as far as slick goes. I can't imagine how it would get much slicker on a track than what we would see out here today.
Well, you just saw some of our past winners there. Wyatt Wilkin, we saw him waving to the crowd, getting things fired up. He would love to pick that momentum up that he had here last year after kind of a tough 2025 so far. But this is a big reset opportunity as well, Johnny. You can talk about that from your own experience. Summer break, you've been able to put in the work, almost kind of leave the first part of the series behind and really show up these final 4 rounds of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about riders that have like a favorite track. I haven't spoken to Wyatt Wilkin coming into this weekend, but grabbing his first ever career win here last year, this place has to hold a little bit of a special place in his heart. The conditions here this weekend and these track conditions in general, very similar to what he's kind of grown up and seems to excel in, being from that Southern Ohio area. Honestly, not so far from here as the crow flies, but it's one of those things, if you're Bryson Neal, you're Walker Fowler, you have 2 wins here in the last 5 years, you've got a little momentum as well.
Oh, yeah.
And those are the 2 that are kind of really just locked in on that championship battle right now. That isn't all that close, but guys, you can't forget what happened here last year. Such a huge points gap Bryson Neal had a absolute devastating race here, scored 0 points, had a mechanical failure, not able to finish the race. Walker Fowler originally not lining up for the race after a rain delay. Once they actually went to the starting line, he made the decision based off some health complications he had been having after hernia surgery. He said, hey, if the conditions are slick now, I'm going to go out there and just ride around and try to get a few points, ending up in the number 2 spot, gaining 25 points that day on Bryson Neal and suddenly tightening that championship battle back up. If you're a Bryson Neal fan, you want to see B. Neal get to the front or just put in a good run here today and kind of further gap out. If you're a Walker Fowler fan or a fan of close racing, you want to see something happen today to shake up the points. Never wish bad luck on anybody, but it's going to take a little bit more than just, if you do the math, 42 points. Walker Fowler could win out the rest of the season. Bryson Neal could podium his way to an overall championship at this point, which really speaks volumes about just how dominant Bryson Neal has been so far here in 2025. One other thing I wanted to point out, we did just see our XC2 riders pop through there. Alex Tiemann already has made his way to the lead after starting at about that 6-7 spot. He's made his way all the way up. You see him not even, or just there at the tail end of the top 20 in the running order. He's worked his way all the way up ahead of Jeremiah Wolf, who was in 14th. So he's on the move. A rider that we expect big things out of, our defending XC2 champion. And here's your leaders on screen.
Here we go. Looks like Hunter Hart actually kind of fought off that initial charge from Bryson Neal. So Bryson going to settle back in, see if he can just kind of run this pace of Hunter Hart and maybe chip away at him at another time. But look at that. Merritt still in that number 3 spot. And then Austin Avenue, a solid run in 4th. He got a great start. Excited to see what he's able to do with it.
Yep, then it's Harrell. There's Jay Shadron, Adam McGill. You see 2 different lines here on that upper line there. There's Wyatt Wilkin. There's Jared McClure. There is Walker Fowler. There is Brandon Owens. So he's made big moves back up through the pack already. Here comes Chris Borch and John Glauber Jr. So even those guys really struggling in that second turn. And I mean, they were there for what felt like, I believe, they actually had to hold up the start of the XC2 class, meaning that they were stuck there for a minute or very near a minute. Then here we see, looks like Grayson Eller coming through on that 171 machine, trying to put in some speed to gap himself back up to the riders in front of him. Keep in touch with that battle for the XC1 class. Man, it just goes, you see these guys sliding everywhere. This is a unique feature here. These are kind of like coal tailings, mining tailings, and it ends up being almost like a whoop section through here. Usually 2 lines. Looks like this year they've kind of narrowed it down to 1, but these guys are going to get beat up, especially as this racetrack continues to chew up and these whoops get deeper and deeper.
And speaking of Cole, we've got the Cole train. Cole Richardson back with us here. He's hanging out. I saw him walking around the pits earlier. He said, I'm here to play spoiler. I'm here to mess up everybody's fantasy picks, DraftKings picks. I am here to wreak havoc. And he was 8th when they came across the line there on lap 1. See if he can get that momentum, shake those cobwebs off a little bit, maybe work his way inside the top 5.
Well, and Cole's coming fresh off being over in France for the Pont de Vue 12-hour endurance race. He was over there. He was teammates with one of our XC2 riders, Braxton Gross, and also Walker Fowler. Those three were on the team for Liberty. John Glaude Jr., Grayson Eller, Wyatt Wilkin also over there as well, doing battle as a part of the Phoenix Yamaha racing team that sent an effort over there. So a lot of international flair there that is now here stateside and doing back battle in their home series of GNCC. Looks like we do have some of our 40-plus riders coming through there. That was Brad Whitehead and Dirk DeCesar coming through. That is our 40-plus A class. So we're a few classes back now, and it looks like we should have some more riders coming through. We'll call them out as we see them. Don't get to see these guys on TV too often, but could give them a shout-out as they work their way through. These guys out there doing battle. Folks, if you're at home watching and you're new to GNCC Racing, a unique thing here. We have the top athletes in the world on 4 wheels and tomorrow 2 wheels out there. These are the best of the best, and also weekend warrior amateur riders that travel from all around the country to be a part of this series. And we have classes for everybody, including tonight. We'll have our Stasic race.
Oh yeah.
We've got our, starting with our 2-year-olds. You heard that correctly. 2-year-olds on Stasics out there doing battle, all the way up to the guys on the big guys and gals on the bigger Stasics, up through I think 6, 7, 8-year-olds out there on those Stasics. And then tomorrow we'll come back, do it all again on 2 wheels.
Yeah, it really is something that makes GNCC so special. And a part of that, Jackson, as well, is the way we see the track develop because of that. Oftentimes, the lines that we see from the best of the best completely different than what we see from some of the riders further back in the pack.
Yeah, no doubt. And we get the best of both worlds here at GNCC. There is no doubt about that. And when we talk about these riders being amateur riders and weekend warriors, don't get us wrong. These are still some of the best riders in the nation for their class, for their age limits. They're definitely some of the best. You throw them out one of their local tracks, no doubt about it, they're going to be one of the top guys.
And when we talk about that before, as we get into the race, we'll start talking about lapped riders that are going one lap down, the leaders are coming around. And we point out, the speed differences, but the reality of it is, in a lot of cases, those lapped riders, if they go back to their local or regional series, they're one of the top riders in their series.
No doubt.
That just goes to show the diversity, and, these people are just as dedicated, both males and females, kids, 2 and 4 wheels. They come here, they give it their best, and, some of these folks are trying to work their way up to that XC1 Pro class, and then some of those, like we saw, Brad Whitehead, Dirk DeCesar, Jeff Pickens, a former XC1 racer himself, back there in the 40-plus class. Hey, when they retire from full-time racing, start a family, start a business, whatever it may be, they say, GNCC's in my blood, I just can't get away from it. So they're out here in our age classes as well doing battle, and they usually have the best stories after the race, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I wish we could do some podiums back further in that class. They'd really let us know exactly how it is. And it's so funny, we hear some of our top riders as well. They're, like you said, it's a big family here at GNCC. And Jackson, how many times have we heard, I was going by some lap riders, and they were pulling over and cheering for me as I came by. They're just as big of fans as they are racers out on track.
Yeah, no doubt. They travel all over the nation to not only get to come and race, but to watch these guys. And then they get the opportunity to be out on the track, getting to battle it out with the guys that they look up to, some of their heroes on the ATV world, just such as Hunter Hart, Bryson Neal. I mean, this is the who's who of cross-country racing for ATVs. You get to go out there, race with them, try it for yourself. It's quite the experience.
You can see some roots starting to come up through here. Guys, the biggest thing I can say from my years of experience here, we used to run this for back what was the Paul Kuntz series, and then there was another series, the Mountain State series, that raced here. So a lot of West Virginia-based series have raced this property over the years. It was known as CJ Raceway. And this place, something about the dirt here, when you're out in the fields where we're parked, kind of in the pro pits and the start-finish area, if you try to just feel the ground, it's almost like concrete. Obviously, this they graze cattle on here. Cattle are heavy. They walk around and their hooves press the dirt, and you get almost this concrete-like feel to the dirt. Well, when you go into the woods, it's not much different. They don't let the cattle in the woods, I don't believe, but somehow the dirt here, it just packs so tightly, so it's rare that you actually see roots popping up, and you don't see the big holes that you see in some of the other GNCC tracks where it gets rutted out real deep. This place, the track will stay looking about like this throughout the day, but you'll see a lot more chatter. You'll see square edge where the dirt really starts to kind of make these braking bumps and acceleration bumps, and that is an entirely different bike setup and an entirely different animal for these riders to dissect as the race goes on.
And Johnny, you've been here year after year. Are these some of the same trails that we've saw used in the past, or are these all new trails that we're seeing here today?
The GNCC track crew does a great job of trying to go out and open up some new old trails and also to cut in new trail altogether. But the reality of it is this place has been raced for, that I know of, at least 25 years. So a lot of what we're racing that maybe wasn't raced last year at some point has likely been traversed in one direction or the other. You can run it north and south, you can run it east and west, but these woods have they've seen a lot of tire tracks from GNCC and regional series over the years. But the way they put the track together, the biggest thing that I think I can say about going to some of these properties year after year, some of these places have been going 30-plus years, depending on how the track is put together when the track crew goes out, it really can change up the feel and the flow of the property. It can take a place that is normally tight and twisty, suddenly it's flowy. Here's your top 3 on screen. Hunter Hart still leading the way, Bryson Neal in second. Now Josh Merritt has bridged the gap and gotten to your leaders as they start to stretch it out. The last rider we saw in that spot was, and still is, the 703 of Austin Avenue sitting there in the number 4 spot. Then it's Harrell, then it's Shadron. So that is back to, here comes the 521, the home state rider of Adam McGill. Then it's Cole Richardson, Wyatt Wilkin, Jared McClure. Actually, that looked like Walker Fowler, then Brandon Owens. And I'm not sure who that other rider is in the Moose gear. Going to have
Ronnie Rush, maybe?
Yes, Ronnie Rush. You are correct. There's Chris Borch, and then there is John Gallardo Jr. So I missed Ronnie Rush there the first time. That was a rider I didn't recognize. A little different gear for him today, but he is out there and in the mix inside the top 15 as they run. Looking back at our XC2 riders, if the camera shot sticks around long enough, Alex Tiemann again working his way around Jeremiah Wolf, and shout out to Jordan Berg, Shorty they call him, a lightning fast start from that college A class up into the number 15 spot overall, ahead of all but one of our XC2 riders. So a very, very fast start there for Jordan Burke here today.
Yeah, it's so fun after the end of this race. We get to talk on the podium with our XC1, our XC2, and our top amateurs as well. And it is cool at the end of the year to hear some of those amateurs getting in the fight, battling out with these XC2 kids. And they move up, but it's not that big of a move for them because they're used to battling these different riders. We've seen Tiemann, we've seen several of these riders go to this exact same thing. But speaking of Alex Tiemann, we're not used to seeing him up front this early.
No.
We joke on the podium all the time. He's like, honestly, I don't know what to do with a good start. I kind of freak myself out. Maybe this has been something he's been working on because...
Well, to be fair, he didn't have a great start. He was in about 7th or so off the start.
I still think that's pretty good.
Well, yeah, but just saying, he's actually made moves early and made quick work of this. You know, I sound like a broken record here, but he's another one of those Southern Ohio riders. Very familiar terrain, familiar dirt. He does well when there's no grip. He finds a way to kind of shift that machine up, lower the RPMs, allow the tires to grip into the dirt. You know, when you're just pinning it and blowing what we call blowing the rear tires off, you know, think of a dragster as it goes when they do their warm-up at the drag strip. You know, they pour that water down and they just give it all the gas, drop the clutch. Next thing you know, you just smoke and it looks cool. The crowd loves it, but they're not going anywhere. You know, and then when they actually do go to take off, they're more focused on finding that grip of traction to be able to move the machine forward.
Well, he's in luck because he's got some slick conditions here today. We'll see what he's able to do with it. So far, so good.
I'll be impressed if we see a full burnout here. If we start seeing smoke flying, something's going on. But it's going to be impressive to watch for sure. And as we see our fans kind of picking their spots around and
see the feet sliding. Look, it's just trying to walk.
He's got his Crocs in two-wheel drive though. This is he wasn't prepared for that. It might be slides. I don't know.
Yeah, can't see if he's got
questionable shoe choice.
Those are definitely slides. Yeah. And GNCC fans are wild. Sometimes they just.
I've seen barefoot.
Oh yeah.
Howard's role. I think that's the
code. That's the code of conduct down there.
See some of our motorcycle riders for tomorrow in the Team Green, the Red Bear Rocky Mountain ATV MC riders out there walking the track, just trying to get a lay of the land, figure out where the lines are going to be for tomorrow, and prepare themselves and their machines to do battle. 24 hours from now, they're out there doing all the recon right now.
Now, while we wait on our leaders here, Johnny, let's talk a little bit about summer break and the approach to it for some of these riders. If you're somebody like Bryson Neal, you got to think it's just maintaining the momentum. Obviously, Bryson having some great stuff going on in his home life, having a beautiful little baby, kind of adjusting to dad life as well. But for some of these riders that maybe aren't performing the way they want, and as we see our leader on screen, and look at that, Hunter Hart by himself. I didn't see. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Our leaderboard was blocking our shot of Bryson there, but Bryson still putting the pressure on. Josh Merritt looking like he's found a flow there, and again, did bridge that gap. We'll see if Austin Abney is still our rider in the number 4 spot, and he is. The rider out of Indiana, a solid start for him. We've seen him have some good runs on the podium at our season opener earlier this year. Then it's Harrell. Then it is Jay Shadron. Couldn't see the headlights. They're already packed full of mud. The Gator, Adam McGill. There's Richardson, a visiting rider, returning visiting rider. Then Wyatt Wilkin, Jared McClure, Walker Fowler. That looked to be Brandon Owens, and that one's Ronnie Rush. The only way you can tell, they get the same gear, but one's a little taller than the other. And then comes Chris Borch on that number 10 machine. There is John Gallardo Jr. still trying to make moves to try to make up for ground lost there in that incident in turn number 2. So as things started to stretch out, now they've started to tighten back up. We've got a 3-rider battle over those top 3 positions, and then about a 10-rider battle behind them, trying to sort out the rest of the top 10.
Yeah, those top 13 you see on the left side of your screen there, those are the correct order as the running order is right now. 30 minutes into this one, it's going by fast as we see Eller now on screen of the XC1 class.
And you can see he's kind of lost that toe with the rest of the field, and it's so hard to make that time back up. And it kind of looks like a lot of these riders, like Walker Fowler, for example, he's kind of bumping back and forth. He's got somebody right on his rear door, but he's trying to make some passes as well. Do we expect him to kind of just settle in right now, or do you think he is sitting there saying, I've got to make something happen?
Well, you could sense the frustration on the start when the Ricky Towery waved that green flag. Walker Fowler's machine did not fire. He was sitting there, the only one left sitting on the starting line, dead last off the line, really only benefiting from those riders getting tangled up in turn number 2 and making a few moves. But this track, as fast and flowy as it is, it can actually be very challenging to pass on. Look at this. House teaming out front already without goggles. That's an interesting move. Coming through the pack, he's had to make those passes and has already ditched his goggles. So you got to believe with the conditions the way they are today, especially with a little bit of, I don't want to say the R word, but it is in the forecast. There's a chance of it for the rest of the day. Then it's Jeremiah Wolf. There's Braxton Gross has put on a charge, now up to the number 3 spot. There in fourth look like Danik Paquin, a rider visiting from Canada. French-speaking rider, shows the international flair here at GNCC, a rider who's been on the podium before in the sands of Florida, but these conditions, very, very different here today. Number 5 spot, and things really tightening up pretty dark through this section of racetrack. And look at this, Bryce Neal with an inside line, up over the bank, squares up Hunter Hart, not quite able to make the pass stick. Josh Merritt hanging, waiting for one of those 2 riders to try to make a mistake in that number 3 spot. And again, these 3 starting to distance themselves ever so slightly, each camera shot ahead of the 703 of Austin Avenue, and the rest in tow.
Great job showing the variance in light, like you said, some of these open field sections. It's actually still pretty bright outside, but man, you get deep into these woods and things definitely darken up a ton, but still that sense of urgency from Bryson Neal. We've seen him kind of do 3 or 4 different attacks so far on this opening lap. Got to think maybe he's got a little more pace in the tank and is just trying to wait until he's able to get around HH.
I think you're spot on there. I think Bryson Neal knows that if he can get to the front, he's a rider that has shown us in recent years here that he's so confident in his fitness, his machine, and his speed that he doesn't really play the game of, okay, let's race and then we'll decide this at the end. He feels, and this isn't an arrogance thing, this is confidence, he feels he's better than these guys. If he can get to the front, he wants to put them away early. He wants to just get the lead. We've seen him pull out, in some cases, minutes gap over the nearest rider. So right now, Hunter Hart doesn't look like he's holding him up, but Bryson Neal definitely does appear to have more pace, and I think if he's able to get around Hunter Hart, Hunter's really going to have to pick up the pace, and likewise Josh Merritt, if they want to stay with the Bidwell Bullet, because he's going to try to just absolutely get away and put this one out of reach early.
Now Hunter Hart, another rider maybe looking to put Snowshoe behind him, finished in that 12th spot overall, so got to think he's kind of hit the reset button as well over summer break, and he's come out swinging here for the Final 4.
Yeah, I got to tell you what, the pace of the top 3 right now looks pretty intense. A lot of times we'll see these guys, especially in conditions where uncertain of the grip, you'll see them kind of feeling out the track on lap number 1. None of that today. It's all gas, all go. You can see him blowing up the berms, just absolutely pushing. And what that's led to is this big gap we see right here. Now look at this, a shakeup, folks. Jay Shadron has made some moves. He has gotten around Stephen Harrell, and he is now putting a lot of pressure on the 703 of Austin Avenue. White looking back there. There's Jared McClure. Looks like Walker Fowler has actually lost a couple spots. So to your point there, Zach, sometimes when you're trying to make moves, it ends up going in the wrong direction.
Well, and we talked about momentum. Jay Shadron on the other side of things, the last 3 races, a top 5 finish, and then a 2nd and a 3rd. He's getting mighty comfortable back on that podium. Best believe he's been putting in the work over summer break as well. We talked about the resurgence of confidence, going from I think I can to I've done it. Now Jay Shadron knows he's got what it takes, and there's only one spot that he hasn't been on that podium yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jay, a rider that, you know, we've talked about his trials and tribulations so much here on Racer TV. He's gone through so many injuries, very serious injuries, some even away from the sport of racing, of ATV racing, that, you know, led many, including his own family, to question at times, hey, is this something you still want to be doing? When you're up in the mix and you're battling for top 5 positions and finishing on the podium several races in a row, you're one of the best in the world. No limitation is going to hold this guy back. He's just full of heart, full of desire, and showing it right now. But showing the speed right now is Hunter Hart. Interesting, Bryson Neal has now broken his roll-off film, so he has no ability to get clear vision. That is going to affect him. You can see him ducking his head there. That just goes to show the rocks, the heavy roost, what happens is they'll hit the film, they'll either break the film or push it away from the canister, and you can see it all bunched up. There's no saving that. Those are gone now. The only way that he's able to regain clear vision is if he stops and gets new goggles, or if he's able to get to the front, he can actually pitch his goggles and run without, but that's a risky move on a day like today, because if it does start raining, Zach, you were just showing us the radar there, and it looks like we may have some inbound moisture.
Yeah, there was a lot of color on that radar, that's for sure, and maybe got to think, look at this. Fowler having some issues on this uphill, and he's got a freight train of riders stuck behind him.
He is bottomed out there on the outside of that berm that they have made up.
Yeah.
Fowler's still not able to get that machine undone.
Yeah, that's a big, big time loss there for Walker Fowler. Not only losing positions, but you can see how long it's going to take him. He's going to have to get back on that machine, plug in the kill switch. Looked like he was trying to make a move around the outside in that corner and just not able to make the bike make the corner, slid up over the berm, got high centered, and now he is at the very back of the XC1 train, and look at the gap in front of him. He's got a ton of ground to make up, even to get back to that 13th place position. Again, that bad start really rearing its head, and now he's in a position where a year ago here, he was the rider making up the gobs of points, right now looking to lose a ton of points to his nearest championship rival, Bryson Neal.
And you know Fowler has to be aggravated after that one. He's going to have to put that behind him, charge forward, start this one with a clean slate.
Well, and you touched on that, Jackson. Being able to just forget it, put it behind you, it's so much easier said than done. He maybe was just able to put the start behind him, and then something else goes. When it rains, it pours. The quicksand, if you will, of one mistake turning into another. Hard to say because I didn't quite see what happened, but got to wonder whether or not that sense of urgency of Walker Fowler might have led to him overshooting that corner, winding up in a tough spot.
And we see our XC2 leader on screen, Alex Tiemann. And to your point, guys, very pivotal point in the race if you're Walker Fowler, and as you pointed out, you know, that snowball effect of, oh, look at this, Braxton Gross has now gotten around our early race leader, Jeremiah Wolf, and is up into the number 2 spot in the XC2. And now it's, look at this, Danik Paquin up to the number 3 spot. So the visiting French-Canadian rider really putting on the display of speed here, working his way through the pack up into a podium position in that XC2 class. And now we see the 341 of Jeremiah Wolf in the number 4 spot. But yeah, if you're Walker Fowler right now, this is gut check time, because battling for a win, barring some unforeseen circumstances at this point, is nothing short of a miracle. But you got to start now thinking about points. Like, you've got to put yourself in a position to try to go for a top 5 or maybe try to claw your way to a podium. It's looking very bleak if you're a Walker Fowler fan right now. Not a good start today. Look at this new leader. Bryson Neal has gotten around Hunter Hart. So there we talked about it. Knowing that he needed to get clear vision, B. Neal has made the pass. He is now out front. Still has the roll-off film swinging in the distance there. And then Josh Merritt now starting to put a little pressure on Hunter Hart as well. So this is going to be the tail of the tape here, folks. Can Hunter Hart go with Bryson Neal? Can Josh Merritt latch on? Or with a Bidwell bullet, just start to march away?
Oftentimes we hear in racing, you know, if you get passed by a rider, if you can pass him right back, it kind of shuts down the momentum a little bit. Would you say the same thing goes for here in GNCC? If Hunter can make a quick move back, does it kind of show Bryson that, hey, you're not going to break away without a fight?
Absolutely, and I think that would exactly be the key, the way you're explaining that there, Zach. If Hunter can't make a counter move here very soon, we know that Bryson Neal's confidence will just continue to grow. Coming in off a summer break, you know he's been putting in the work. He already knows through 2025 he's been the class of the field. No reason to think that if he's out front and he's not feeling pressure from behind, he's not, whether it be Hunter Hart, Josh Merritt, whomever, showing him a wheel, for him to just continue to get confident and control the race, I think we're going to start to see him, as the race continues on, stretch it out 5 seconds here, 10 seconds there, and then if he can get a sight on those guys, it maybe lights out for the day.
Some hands in the air there for Hannah Hunter, and Stephen Harrell did not stop at his pit, so interesting stuff going on in the pits right now.
You see, there is Walker Fowler, so he has gotten that machine going again. We did see on screen, but a big gap that he's got to go just to get to the back of the XC1 battle in front of him. Still not anywhere even near the top 10, sitting back in about that number, well, there you go, 15 spot as they check in, and may potentially be displaced by a few XC2 riders as they come through, but it is a pretty big gap back to Alex Tiemann. It'll be close.
And don't get it wrong, he is the most winning rider in all of GNCC history, so if anybody's capable of doing it, no doubt, Walker Fowler is the man that's capable of doing that.
We see Grayson Eller now also checked in the number 16 spot, and obviously, Jackson, as you pointed out, the winningest rider in GNCC history. If anybody can do it, he's on a short list of people that could, but just knowing this racetrack, these conditions today, he has a tall mountain to climb to even get back to a battle for a top 5, let alone a top 3, and a win. I mean, we're going to have to see maybe some of the best stuff he's ever put down on the racetrack to get himself into that position where he's sitting now.
Well,
and he knows that.
Yeah, and you guys touched on the speed of that top 3. Take a look at those last lap times. Your top 3 all in the 29, 40 to 45s, 42s for both Josh Merritt and Bryson Neal, a 44 for Hunter Hart. Then we go back to Austin Avenue. It's a 30.09, so several seconds between the pace of that top 3. That's going to continue to grow as things go on, especially the way it's looking right now with Neal arguably going to pick the pace up even more so now that he's in that number 1 spot right on cue.
Yep,
there he goes.
And there is Hunter Hart, and it's not that it's stretched out a ton. And certain sections of the racetrack, it will look different. We'll see sections where, you know, it looks like they're wheel to wheel. We'll see sections where it looks like they're stretched out a little bit more. But I think right now, Bryson Neal is probably going to throw in a heater here on lap number, technically 3, because we've got 2 laps complete. We know that first lap was a short 9-minute lap. Now we've seen our second lap with 30 minutes, just shy of 30 for our leaders, and we're 39 minutes, 39 seconds is the lap time for Bryson Neal. This is when we're really going to start to see, can he start to stretch it out, or have these guys locked their horns into him and they're going to go with him? And look at this, just a freight train as the rest of the riders coming through here.
Yeah, it looked like Jay Shatner was trying to start applying some pressure to Austin Abney, still in that number 4 spot, and then Stephen Harrell right behind them. And Gator, a good jump off the gate, staying in about that 7th place spot. But like you said, it's a freight train. One mistake for many of them. Walker Fowler, a perfect example of that. One person's mistake could wind up affecting 3 or 4 riders behind him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one little thing, and we saw that in turn 2 with Chris Borich, John Gallardo Jr., and Brandon Owens, who actually got sideways in that mud hole, lost his momentum. And once he couldn't go, those other riders, they couldn't even back up. The mud was so thick, they had no choice but to get off their machine, start pulling, pushing, doing anything they could to advance themselves, so things can shake up quickly here.
No doubt about it. A good camera shot here at the mile 1 marker to give you a perspective on that hard-packed slick sections that we were talking about. You can see just how hard-packed it is right here in this one. Already seeing some of those roots Johnny talked about earlier starting to come into play as well. And we'll be able to draw just a little bit there. You can see the roots just at the bottom side of your screen,
absolutely.
right on our mile marker 1.
Roots right around here. But Johnny, what I wanted your opinion on was the shiny soil that you're seeing right around here and here as well. It might seem inviting, it might seem cool to some folks, but that is where traction is not, and we're seeing more and more of that as the race goes on and as the R word we're not mentioning might start to come down.
Well, and as you're pointing out here, if we keep with this camera shot, the shiny spots here, down here and then up here where we see our XC2 leader, what that is the tires have actually chewed away the dirt or the topsoil that's on top, and then we've got what looks like good dirt right kind of here in the middle. I'm trying to draw on the actual screen. Thankfully, the technological wizard Zach Heron steps in and saves me. That stuff, the reason why it's not as kind of stripped down to the hard pan is the riders aren't spinning. They're accelerating there, they're turning and braking coming into the shiny spot that's closer to camera. In between, they're kind of off the gas, and that dirt hasn't been disturbed as much. The more you chew it up, the more it starts to get slicker, and it just becomes so very challenging.
Talking about slick, Merritt getting a little too slideways right there, losing a fair amount of time in what's a very high-speed section.
Yeah, now Josh is in the kind of situation where he needs to try to bridge that gap to get back to the top 2, or he may fall into the clutches of the riders behind him, kind of in no man's land by himself right there. Doesn't look like a big distance, but when you get into the woods, there's going to be multiple sections of this racetrack now where Merritt will not even be able to see the riders in front of him. And it's also hard to gauge the pace and the lines. You know, if Bryson Neal and Hunter Hart really start clicking some lines together and finding a better flow on this racetrack, Josh Merritt is now just far enough behind that he will not be able to take advantage of those lines. He's going to have to find them for himself.
And as you see the raindrops on your screen coming out just a bit, take note of that. Josh Merritt kicking up a little bit of dust right now. I don't think that is going to be what we're seeing come 1 lap's time from now as we continue to watch our leader on screen right here. Bryson Neal, you can see him from the goggles flapping in the wind, the tear-offs flapping in the wind. So interested to see when he's going to get a new set of goggles, because now is the time he needs them.
Well, and obviously right now they have already passed through the pro pits. They do that just after the completion of the lap. So I would expect, based off our lap's time, that a lot of these riders could potentially pit this next lap for fuel. That would be a perfect opportunity for him to get some clear vision, get some new goggles. Look at this battle, guys. This looks like the rush hour traffic on your way to get to your job you hate. These guys are absolutely just wheel to wheel battling it out, trying to do everything they can to make passes. And look at this. They are just all over, inside, outside. We see around the outside, and look at this. A pass is made. Looks like possibly Brandon Owens making the pass on Jared McClure, but then Jared McClure trying to come back around the outside. You've got to funnel back in on those one-line bridges. We've seen some riders try to jump those ditches, and it does not end well for them.
Well, and another thing I noticed at the front end of that freight train, it's now Jay Shadron leading the pack. He was able to get around Austin Abney and to put a couple of bike lanes between them. So we'll see if Shadron can hit the afterburners and see if he can catch up to that top three group.
That rider you see all by himself off in the distance there up against that beautiful green backdrop looks to be Walker Fowler on the number 2 machine. He gave up a bunch of time getting high centered on a berm after a poor start, starting to work his way through the field, and now he is all the way back at the back of that XC1 train, sitting in the 15th spot. And he has a lot of work to do to get himself up into a position to battle for some good points that he needs to keep himself in this championship race here today.
All right, well, things getting interesting here at the Dunlop Motorcycle Tires Buckwheat 100 summer break. It's over. We're back. GNCC Racing. Hunter Hart with a great start, trying to keep things inside the top 3 in that number 2 spot right now, because the Bidwell Bullet, he's picking up right where he left off. Daddy's home. He's back. He's going racing, and he's in the number 1 spot right now. Josh Merritt, little mistake, trying not to turn it into another one as he holds on to that final podium spot. Meanwhile, pretty much the entirety of the rest of the XC1 field wheel to wheel in a battle. How's it going to shake out? We're going to find out soon. But first, a word from our sponsors, and we'll have more GNCC racing right here on Racer TV.
Unleash aggression, reliability, and premium quality with Kenda Tires. Delivering exceptional performance on all types of vehicles. Automotive, ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, bicycles, trailers, lawn and garden, and even golf. Trust Kenda Tires to guide you on your next adventure. Kenda, designed for your journey.
Family values and a homegrown work ethic. Cometic Gasket seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best inside their engine. Cometic Gaskets are always constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environments. Whether it's a championship on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts alike depend on Cometic. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989.
It takes commitment, passion, and endurance to make something great. Made by champions, for champions.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
And welcome back, GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. Mikey Wayne's alongside Jackson Burrell and the internationally known, as we said, Johnny Gallagher. He's shaking his head no. But it's the truth, Johnny. Round number 10, we've got a good one. You guys just saw from the Yamaha Racing live drone that the dogfight from, well, pretty much the almost entire XC1 pack out there. This has been a good one so far. And as we welcome you back, I think we're going to take a look at some of those EMTB highlights from yesterday evening on a Friday. Take a look at our Specialized Turbo GNCC EMTB race recap.
And here we go. It was a good one in our XC1 class. It was Cody Pivorato that you see on screen along with Garrett Stout. Those two battling it out. Cody Pivorato able to pick up a win there at our last GNCC. He was able to yesterday as well, so keeping that streak going. And it was a great time. They had a great course for it, great weather for it. Good day to be EMTB racing.
That bright thing you see, that's the sunshine.
I thought you were going to say the jersey.
For those of you that are confused at home, it is now ATV race day, so that has gone away. We may get to see it again tomorrow for Motorcycle Day, which those guys deserve it. It's been a rough season for them as well.
True.
And honestly, shout out to these e-bike racers. I've skipped many of these this year because the conditions not ideal. But yesterday they were really treated to near picture perfect conditions. Just great dirt, sun shining, moderate temperatures, and it provided some excellent racing action.
Philip Saul and Gunnar Sjogren on screen there as they made their way through. There's Kenny Hawkins making his way through. He was able to pick up a win yesterday. These guys have been going at it, and they go at it each and every race, especially those three that I just mentioned. One thing that they're always saying, we want more competition. We want more riders out here. If more people would get out here, I think more people would enjoy it than they think. That's always the tell of the tape for them. But that man right there, he has been on fire, like we said, the last few races. He's been looking for wins, able to pick up one for the first time ever last season. This season, sitting in the points lead against Garrett Stout there and Beaupre and the rest of the group. So he's in good shape going this last one. Kenny Hawkins, he picked up a win, like I said, a little rough patch for him the last few races, able to pick back up yesterday. Gunnar Sjogren, he was on fire as well.
Guys, one thing I'll say about GNCC EMTB racing, having done many of these, there's no other form of racing, at least that I've done, where you can be absolutely locked in a battle with someone and having a conversation. You're behind them, you're in front of them, you're beside them, and you're talking. So it's a very interesting experience and so much fun. If you've not taken the opportunity, if you have an e-bike, or if you want to come to the racetrack here and purchase one from Specialized or any of our other series sponsors, rent one. I don't know if they allow you to race them if you rent them, but maybe they do.
You can test her out.
Yeah, but you could always talk to the folks over there and see if they're okay with you racing it. It is such a fun experience. Get out, enjoy GNCC racing, and who knows, maybe from there you'll expand and get yourself a motorcycle, maybe an ATV, or maybe you just race all three.
That's exactly, yes. You've had at least one round, right, where you've done all three?
I've never done the triple. I've done the double. Oh, I've done the double so many times. Never pulled the trigger on the triple. I don't think we've had weather that is. I'm retired, so I race when I want to in good conditions. I don't race in the mud. I don't race when it's really hot or dusty. I don't race when it's cold. So trying to get a perfect GNCC weekend for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, hasn't happened yet. But one of these days I will get it done.
He's done a lot of different kinds of doubles, though, right? You've got EMTB and ATV, ATV and bike. So
I technically have done a triple, but it was 2 e-bike races and an XC1 ATV race in a weekend when we had a doubleheader. That was a few years ago. And I got to tell you, of the doubles that I've done, or technically that was a triple, the toughest ones by far were when the e-bike races used to be on Saturday. So I would get directly off the ATV from the XC1 race.
Holy smokes.
And as I'm trying to get undressed, they're handing me my cycling kit and saying, okay, they're on the line. They're actually getting ready to let row 1 go. And those were definitely challenging. But hey, man, I'm a glutton for punishment, love racing, and it is great fun to get out there in that e-bike race. Now we're back to 4 wheels. It is Saturday. Yesterday we got to see the 2 wheels, and we go back to 2 wheels again tomorrow. But today is 4-wheel day, and these guys are putting on one heck of a show at the front. Bryson Neal, we did point out, we're expecting to see him definitely change goggles in his pit stop, as if he wasn't going to anyway because of the conditions. We know that something has happened, most likely debris flying up, hitting him in the goggles, dislodging the roll-off film. So as a system, think of an old film camera, and you have a clear strip of film that is in what is the supply side. You've got a little string on the other side, and it works on a recoil, and it pulls clear film across your vision. Well, it's dislodged that, the wind caught it, and now it's just blowing all over. It's wrapped around his neck, it's down into his axle, so he no longer has the ability. The only thing that he can do to try to keep vision clear is occasionally you might see him reach up and wipe those goggles, trying to get the dirt off the lens for him to be able to see better. But right now, he's in the best spot possible. Nobody roosting him, and he is the only one creating any roost for himself. So, but I know we'll see him take new goggles at the pit stop here.
Well, and somebody that maybe has never done it thinks, oh, okay, you just wipe the goggles off. That's no big deal. You smear across your goggles. It almost makes things worse sometimes.
Yeah, it can be challenging, especially when the R word comes around. But right now, we don't have any of that. Our meteorologist, Zach Herron, did have the radar pulled up, and it looked as though doom and gloom was headed our way. But so far, Newburgh, New York has been spared here, or at least CJ Raceway within Newburgh, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. I just got back from Italy. Hey, it's America. Somewhere in America. We're racing.
But like my local meteorologist, I'm wrong. And so no rain so far yet.
Hey, we made the joke earlier, and I'll make it again today. I think my dad would make it at least once a week. I want to be a meteorologist. I want the only job on earth where you can be wrong more than you're right, and they still just keep sending you a paycheck.
Oh, that'd be nice. It's like being an announcer for racing. It just
everything we say is unofficial.
That's right. It's all unofficial. But I got to say, impressed, though, with Bryson Neal, just for nothing else, when he became a dad. I'll use air quotes. You can come at me, Bryson Neal. He hit a slump, right? He had a third,
don't even
and then
start.
a 10th. But, new dad, he was juggling all of that. We were blown away that he came out and got the podium, and then, rough day at Snowshoe. I don't think that had anything to do, honestly, with becoming a new dad. But for Bryson Neal, for those two races back-to-back going into summer break, he was probably happy to be a dad to kind of distract his mind from that Snowshoe. Or he just looks at the point standing and goes, no reason to panic, I'm fine, we're still in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and I think confidence goes a long way. If you're Bryson Neal, obviously coming in multi-time champion with a big points lead to this race, I'm sure he didn't spend the summer counting points or thinking about what he needed to do. He knows that his program is strong. He knows he has the speed. He knows he has the racecraft. And a lot of times if you just let things happen, you'll kind of get your best result. When you start forcing, when you start searching, when you start making all these changes, I do know that multiple riders had told him, hey, this is it. Like, you had a kid, you're not going to win. But that's kind of that's just an old fallacy that kind of gets passed around through GNCC lore of get married, done winning. Have a kid, done winning. But there are so many riders out there that have proven that wrong. And a rider that's proven me wrong right now, Hunter Hart. Yeah. I really thought that we may see Bryson Neal be able to get away, but at least right now, Hunter Hart is matching the pace, and surprisingly, Josh Merritt, after that big mistake we saw, has not lost any more ground. He's not gotten any closer to leaders, but he is still solidly there in the number 3 spot, matching their pace, and just awaiting those pit stops to maybe see if his crew can get him out just fast enough to get him back to the rear wheels of Hunter Hart.
Well, and that's what I was interested to see, was where the number 4 was at. In that section where he made the mistake, we saw almost immediately a second mistake. He had to kind of calm things down, get the heart rate back under control, lock back in, and it seems like you said, maybe made up just a bit of time, if any at all, but certainly has not added to his deficit.
Old Headlights is on a charge. Jay Shadron gotten around, as you pointed out there, got up to the number 3 spot and now has distanced himself from, the number 4 spot. I'm new to this, first day. He has gotten to the number 4 spot, and it looks like it may still be Austin Abney there in the number 5 spot. I'm colorblind, so you guys got to tell me what color that gear is. Is it the high vis? No, it is not.
Abney will be back in the 6th place spot.
It looks like that might
be Harold.
That is, which is interesting because we saw his girlfriend and second place finisher in our WXC. You guys weren't sure what the arms were. That was what are you doing? Because he had a good start and he kind of started to fade back. So maybe that little fire under Stephen Harrell. And now he's saying, what am I doing? I'm doing everything I can. These are the best riders in the world, and he has been nothing short of impressive in his first season and 3/4 here in this XC1 class, coming in as a XC2 champion 2 years ago. he's been very, very impressive as he enters himself into the ranks. Number 5 now, just showing how strong his rookie season was 1 year ago, and backing it right up again here, running inside the top 5 as he has now made his way around Austin Abbey.
Yeah, Stephen Harrell 6th in the points right now, a top 10 every single round, and several top 5s as well. I definitely think he's, we talked about, I think, the expectation early on. We thought we were going to start to see that breakthrough for the podiums as well. Then it almost seemed like he was silly little mistakes that we weren't expecting. I want to see this reset for Stephen Harrell to get back to what we thought we were going to see early in the season.
A lot of people talking early in the season that Stephen Harrell may be a little bit of a sophomore slump. Not in terms of his effort, but just the results. Last year, no expectations. Just came in, hey guys, I just want to learn this class. These guys are the best of the best. I believe I can ride with them, but I know I have a lot to learn. This year coming in, I think this rider on screen right here was really wanting to see if he could get up in the mix for podiums. Still does not have an overall podium, does not have an overall win, and now we see that he definitely has the speed. Wyatt Wilkin really looking racy in that camera shot there. Look at that, Cole Richardson. There is Brandon Owens. John Glotter Jr. has now gotten around Chris Borch, Ronnie Rush. Now Walker Fowler has made up the gap and gotten around Ronnie Rush as well. So now we're, look at this. I thought I saw that. Jay Shadron dropped way back, as did Adam McGill. So now it's actually Stephen Harrell up to the number 4 spot. I did not see Shadron come through. I thought maybe we missed him with the camera pan, but no. Something happened to Jay Shadron there and has now dropped well back outside the top 10 from a big charge he put in just, half a mile ago, was up to that number 4 spot and looked like he might even have the speed to make a run at that top 3.
So tough break for Jay Shadron. And back to your point on Stephen Harrell, Johnny, he wasn't like the youth pedigree, right? Like joined these ranks later in adulthood, and he just like he feels like a sponge. I don't know if there's a benefit with his personality type, his riding style, but he puts in the work, and it's like I won't say slow and steady, but it's like a steady progression for Stephen Harrell. Maybe the podium doesn't happen this year, but I think next year put him down for at least 1 or 2. The goggles by Bryson Neal.
Yep, you see, and that was a tail. He's trying to keep those lines. Look at this. Josh Merritt has now made up ground on your leader, so maybe that vision starting to affect Bryson Neal, even though he doesn't have anybody roosting him. As you pointed out, as you wipe, it's not exactly like windshield wipers. It's more like, reaching down, grabbing a handful of mud and smearing it across your goggles. And, mud on the goggles, never a good thing. And I think that may possibly be a part of what we're seeing. But also, hats off to Hunter Hart. He has matched Bryson Neal move for move since giving up that position and really looking like he's starting to put even maybe a little more pressure. Bryson Neal may be starting to feel now, hey, like, man, earlier in the year I could just kind of run away from these guys. What did they do over summer break? Well, Hunter Hart ate his Wheaties. We saw he filmed at least 36 million Instagram bangers. You name it. He's got the girlfriend live there that she's getting all the shots, and she's actually posting. Has he hit me yet? No, he is not. They've got great trust for each other. If you don't follow him on Instagram, follow along because he's got great content there and proving that in between the playing around and getting those wheelie shots and endos and wheeling over logs and enduro cross and burnouts, he's obviously putting in the time on the track and the practice and most likely in the gym as well because he's looking fit, he's looking strong, and he's right now giving Bryson Neal all that he can handle.
My favorite is the full gear jumps into the pool.
That scares me. Have you ever done that?
I try not to.
I
Lay it down a little bit.
I have many times after a hot race said, oh man, this lake looks great, and I don't even jump in, just walk in from the edge. When you get to where you can no longer touch and those boots fill up with water,
oh no,
it's scary.
Some concrete galoshes.
Yeah, maybe that's the training program. He's going Navy SEAL style. He's just treading water for minutes at a time.
Well, he's 13 feet tall, so he can actually stand in the deep end of the pool. And look at this. Again, Josh Merritt
keeping pace.
The speed is there. Not just keeping pace. He has made up ground on the riders in front of him after that big mistake we saw in the field where he was facing the wrong direction, corrected, and as we pointed out, made another mistake just a few corners later. He's kind of righted the ship. He's back on course, and he is charging, trying to track down the 2 leaders in front of him, now just down to a few bike lengths.
Kind of surprised to see the line those top 3 all took up that hill. They were far over to the right side and kind of off balance a little bit. You got a smile on your face, Johnny. What do you know?
Man, that hill's been there for years, and those rock ledges are slick. If you don't get a heck of a drive at the bottom, which right now there's not a lot of bite in the ground, so as you go up, you're losing momentum. If you can get one tire over in that better dirt on the right, you're going to just get more forward drive. It's not that the hill is steep and you won't make it, but you're just kind of spinning and you're playing that traction game we talked about where you're letting off the throttle, you're trying to work the clutch, do whatever you can to find the grip. All you do is move over a half a quad width, and at least you've got one side tire that's grabbing and kind of propelling you up the hill. Here we
That's
see.
why we have John.
That's it, yeah.
That's my only purpose. I don't even know what state we're in, Newburgh, New York. I don't know what place people are in. I'm sorry, guys. I'm rusty. Still a little jet lagged from coming back from Italy just a couple days ago. But the lead battle on screen right now.
Man.
Bryce and Neal sensing the pressure from behind and really starting to open up that Phoenix Yamaha and pushing the pace. Josh Merritt there lurking.
Oh, Bryce and Neal.
Oh, look at this. Hunter Hart's got to drive, but we can see ducking the head, trying to save the goggles. Now they're down to just less than a mile until they'll be able to get some fuel. It will be interesting to see, because of the way this is playing out, 1 hour in, if they pit now, which I think we're going to see the top 3 pit, they will be able to make it to the finish line. But this window that we're in, any one of these 3 riders could potentially go one more lap. It would make it about an hour 36-ish, which is really pushing the fuel range on these machines, but it is possible. Could we see somebody really just roll the dice, shake it up, and see if they can get a position gain? Because we see them running right now in formation. By not pitting, any one of these 3 riders could potentially, if you're Bryce and Neal, you could break away. If you're Hunter Hart or Josh Merritt, you could get yourself into a lead position. My gut tells me that we're going to see all 3 of them pull in. Bryce and Neal, I really think is going to pit, because he's going to want some goggles right now. He's tired. The other thing, and it is a subtle, not huge deal, but that sound. Oh, look at that. Looking down at something on the machine, very reminiscent
Look
of
at that back tire, back right tire.
Oh, look at that.
Of
Bryce
Neal?
and Neal.
I don't know. It looks like it's holding right there.
Yeah, he was looking forward, almost like he was looking down at the brake pedal or possibly the engine of the machine. Hasn't looked down again yet, so it could have just been something jammed in the brake pedal. He's still carrying a great pace right now. But I really think the other thing, when that roll-off film gets like that, have you ever driven and kind of held your hand out the window and you hear the way the wind goes through? Now imagine an 8-foot-long streamer flapping and slapping against your helmet. It'll drive you insane if you're, not trying to focus. It can absolutely drive you just bonkers. So, he's going to want to get that. He's probably tried to reach up and pull that film, but at this point he knows, again, just a few more corners till he makes it to the finish line, sees Ricky Towery, and knows that he's got his pits right there, can get some fuel, can get some fresh goggles, maybe get a drink, and now here comes the battle over that number 4 spot. And it is still Harrell that has it, but Wyatt Wilkin is all over him, inside, outside, trying to square Harrell up and trying to get himself around and up into that number 4 position.
And another thing that we haven't talked a lot of is the amount of off-cameras that this course has as well. And you can see some dust kind of flying up and some of the dry dirt actually being exposed. And so a little bit of grip right now, Johnny, but if anything happens, that can go away just as quick.
Cole Richardson on screen there. Again, a visiting rider, retired 2 seasons ago, came back, really got himself in the mix with a podium at the end of last season, and now he is up just behind Jared McClure there, who's chasing Austin Abney, who is chasing Wyatt Wilkin, who is chasing Stephen Harrell. A lot of chasing going on and a lot of racing.
It's a testament to Harrell. He's been able to hold these guys off to this point. And here comes Bryson Neal. Opened it up in the wind.
Streamer and all.
Opened it up a little bit in that section, and Josh Merritt a little bit closer to Hunter Hart. So right now it looks like Josh Merritt is the rider on the move. See all 3 of our top riders in the same corner, and there is that a 2-lap board?
It is a 2-lap card,
so,
yeah.
But again, I think we're going to see all 3 of these guys come in and get fuel. Bryson Neal most likely get goggles. We'll wait, we'll watch, and this will be it. He's reaching down, he's popping off that dry brake cap. The fuel can is waiting in the hands of his dad, Chris Neal. They're going to get him in and out. Will there be a shakeup in the running order? There we see the fresh goggles. No more worries about the film. No more worries about vision. He does hang on to the lead. What will be the running order coming out of the pits? Hunter Hart will maintain the number 2 spot, and Josh Merritt still in the pits there, looking like he is going to come out in that number 3 spot.
Well, any speculation about maybe something being wrong with the machine for Bryson Neal, I think out the window, or at least it wasn't major enough that he wanted them to look at it.
Didn't look like there was any discussion, any conversation
didn't even
amongst
look like
the crew there. Probably something along the lines of, darn goggles, get me a fresh pair. But they had them ready, and there we see the gap now back. Those 3 just pushing a pace no one else can match. And Wyatt Wilkin has made the move up to the number 4 spot and already started to distance himself from the 4 riders battling behind him. It's Harrell in the number 5 spot. Then it's Austin Abney in 6th. And look at this. Cole Richardson has made the pass on Jared McClure, trying to square up Austin Abney. He's got a drive.
Oh, it's a drag race.
Oh, he has to let off, and Abney will maintain the spot, at least for this lap, but Richardson very much on the move.
And Richardson aggressive through there and resets his sights on Austin Abney here. This is where the pit's going to get interesting.
Yeah. So we'll note the order coming in. There's Harrell. There is Abney going all the way to the end. Will they come out in the same order? You see,
let's go.
Hannah Hunter very motivated to make sure. Wyatt Wilkin now in and out of the pits. That is the number 4 spot, the number 3 machine. And the order, whoa, look at that. Brandon Owens did not pit. Now, he may be pitted elsewhere on the course, but he has gotten all the way up to, he is next to Stephen Harrell, trying to wrestle away that number 5 spot. And the order through the rest stayed. No, John Glada Jr. making some moves. Doesn't look like he pitted either unless he pitted the lap before. And Chris Borch also up in the mix. So those riders definitely did not pit. Then there's Walker Fowler. There's Jay Shadron. There is Ronnie Rush and Adam McGill. Something also happened in McGill as well in that same section of racetrack where we saw Jay Shadron. Didn't see him, but we know that he experienced some struggles because he went from the number 4 spot all the way back to we see him running in that number 14 spot, so losing 10 spots in about a half a mile of racetrack.
It was a tough break for Jay Shad. Had a good one going.
Interesting to point out, we mentioned him earlier, our French-Canadian Danik Paquin. We've had a lot of riders visit from Canada over the years. To my knowledge, at least on the ATV side, Danik Paquin, the only rider with the GNCC XC2 podium. He did accomplish that feat last year in the sands of Florida, and he is currently running again in a podium position in that XC2 class. And at last check, he was only 1.9 seconds behind Braxton Gross, really starting to put some pressure for that number 2 spot.
Paquin's a lot of fun on the podium. You're not getting a race breakdown, but he says, I love GNCC. I'm so glad to be here. Very excited to be up on the podium, but like you said, pretty much entirely French speaking, so I might have to break out Google Translate if he's riding like this.
He actually had stopped by yesterday. I had the Starlink set up, and we have a new, we'll talk about it here briefly, a new concussion protocol for our professional athletes here in GNCC. We take safety very seriously here at GNCC, and our fearless leader, Carrie Jo Coombs, implemented a policy this year where every of our pro riders on both 2 and 4 wheels, that includes our WXC, our 4x4 Pro, our XC1 and XC2 riders, are required to take a baseline test that essentially quantifies their cognitive abilities. And what that means is if you have a big crash, you have a concussion, they're going to require that you go back and retake that test, and you have to be within a certain percentage of your baseline to be out there and safely operate your motorcycle or ATV. Danik Paquin stopping by yesterday saying, hey, I'm from Canada. We don't have this. I did just find out about it getting here to the race, but facilities on site to go ahead and let him take that test. It is an online test. He stopped over, but he was using my laptop, and he's looking at the screen. He speaks English,
sure,
but it's not his native language by any means. And he looked, and he said, oh, French. And he clicked the button. At that point, I could no longer read the screen.
I can't help you now,
I just walked away, and he took the test. But a very, very pleasant individual to be around, and very enthusiastic, as you pointed out, Zach. Loves GNCC racing.
Oh, absolutely. So glad to be here. And, right now, Bryson Neal trying to say arrivederci. See you later.
That's it.
There
whoa.
That's good. I was taking Italian lessons from Johnny earlier this weekend. So.
I learned ciao, arrivederci. That was about it.
Arrivederci.
Esito. That's exit. I know that as well.
Esito. That's a good one to know.
Yeah. When you're trying to return the rental car, you don't want to go to the Esito.
Yeah, there it is. Or you guys were maybe out at a restaurant, perhaps, and were told to see the Esito?
No. Actually, I got to tell you guys, Italy, such a warm, welcoming country. As you can tell by the little pooch here above my waistline, the food, phenomenal.
Good.
Pasta, just all kinds of pasta. And if you have the opportunity, if you don't follow me on Instagram, please don't. I'm not exciting anymore. I don't race. But affogato. Not avocado. Affogato.
What'd you forget?
I remembered.
Bless
but
you.
I remembered, but affogato. It is gelato, and then they pour an espresso shot over it, or they put the espresso in the base and put 2 scoops. Well, I think it's supposed to be 1 scoop, but they saw we were Americans, so
they like their sugar.
Give the fatties a little more, and it is absolutely Scott.
Johnny getting choked up right now, just retelling the story. My goodness. Well, now
I could almost taste it. So good.
Boys, we see here what Bryson Neal can do with clear vision with the new goggles, now putting a bit of a gap there between Hunter Hart and Josh Merritt. Merritt still right on pace with Hunter Hart, and those three have absolutely checked out.
Yep, and we see Wyatt Wilkin now really starting to open up a gap over the riders behind him. He is actually, no, so that is...
Wilkin.
Yeah,
I believe Wilkin was
still
already
up there. And so, okay, Brandon Owens did get around Stephen Harrell. He was behind him on the last camera shot. We do not know where Brandon Owens is pitting. He may have pitted a lap prior. He may have pitted elsewhere on the track. But regardless, making moves right now and making up positions and ground up into that number 5 spot behind the number 4 spot of Wyatt Wilkin. And then it looks like Stephen Harrell's kind of got his hooks in there. He's not letting Brandon Owens get away. Brandon Owens is a rider that has a lot of laps around this facility. I don't even have to ask him to know the local series that he runs, has run here for years, so he's very familiar. And look at the battle behind.
That's a freight train.
Again, these guys headed to the job they hate, but they are battling traffic on the way to get there, and absolutely just in a barn burner. You got about 7 riders battling over 2 positions.
5, 6, 7, 8, almost 9.
Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we got another one back there in
little distance.
8, 9, but still, you've got 7 riders literally wheel to wheel. And you can see contacts being made there. Cole Richardson looking like he might have been the big loser in that exchange, giving up a couple spots. Now we see Walker Fowler on the move, really starting to put some pressure on the riders in front of him. It looks like he has gotten around Chris Borich. And the rest, there is Adam McGill trying to get back to that. It can be so frustrating, guys, when you're just behind a battle like that and you see all these opportunities to make passes, you see all these opportunities to gain points, and you're just off that battle. Sometimes the harder you try, the more you fall back. And Adam McGill right now just not quite able to bridge that gap to get to those riders. But again, home state rider, ton of speed, ton of pedigree. He will get up there and most likely be battling with these guys before the race ends here today.
So, by the way, 2 laps to go in this one. We had the 2-lap card come out this last time Bryson Neal checked in.
About a lap and 3/4 or so to go now. You cover a lot of ground out in that field section because it's a very fast section of racetrack, and you're just moving along. And next thing you know, you come into that section, depending on which direction you're going, you see a mile marker, and by the time you leave that section, you're like 2 mile markers further ahead.
What a shot.
A lot of people here this weekend.
All right, so there you go. We are going to take a short commercial break, get in a word from our sponsors. We'll be back with more here in just a moment. And to this point, it's been Bryson Neal in the lead, not without some carnage. A tough break for Walker Fowler early in this one. Some goggle troubles for Bryson Neal as Hunter Hart keeps pace right on that rear grab bar. And Bryson Neal fighting the elements, fighting the gear, getting a little slideways, as Zach Herron likes to say right there, but able to maintain that lead and bring it into the pits, get some fresh goggles, and he has put a little bit of a gap on these guys. We'll see if he can hang on to it, get back to his winning ways. We'll be back with more GNCC right after this.
On Track School is an online private school catering to some of the top athletes in the world. We offer a flexible schedule for students that are chasing their dreams and always on the go. We are an accredited K-12 school where students can graduate with a diploma. Scan the QR code or call us to book an appointment with one of our learning coaches to discuss your students' next steps.
We've been there since the very beginning.
20 laps, the main event, the mud, the blood, the beer.
Organizing the industry and building champions. "100 years of defending your rights to ride into the future."
Are you ready to rev up your race game? Look no further than Landers KTM, your ultimate trackside support. We offer top quality parts, gear, accessories, and more.
Plus, enjoy free labor from our certified technicians to keep you on track. Join the passion with your local dealership right here to support all your racing needs. Our friendly staff is geared up and ready to take care of you. And don't miss out. Experience up to $500 savings on select KTM Stasics. Available in all sizes. So, what are you waiting for? Swing by Landers KTM today and let us fuel your racing dreams. Landers KTM, where your race begins.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVNC.com. Get ready. And we're back, GNCC here on Racer TV. Well, hey, Progressive Insurance could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. But wait, there's more. The Progressive Campground, you scan the QR code on Racer TV right now. Get yourself a quote. Look at all the campers, the RVs, the motorhomes, the fifth wheels. You've got it all at a GNCC. Well, Progressive has got you taken care of. Scan the QR code, get yourself a quote, and perhaps save yourself hundreds of dollars on your RV and camper insurance. Support those that support us here at GNCC, that being, of course, our title sponsor, Progressive. What a sight to see. Mile marker 8, taking a look at those lap times. That's last lap around. Boy, the sense of urgency, Bryson Neal, 29:38.668, just a little bit faster than Hunter Hart. But boy, how about Josh Merritt? Josh Merritt, I think, the man on the move, and that's probably because he's trying to keep pace with Hunter Hart and Bryson Neal out in front of him.
And doing a good job of it right now. Take a look at those lap times on the left side of your screen. That's about as consistent as you're going to see GNCC lap times getting. 29:38, 29:38, 29:38. Just 0.1 second, all that's separating those riders.
Yeah, it's impressive stuff. And Bryson Neal doing that with some messed up goggles this time around, so maybe he picks that up. We did last time we saw him anyways. He had had started to put a little bit of a gap on the rest of the pack on Hunter Hart and Josh Merritt. Merritt and Hart still close, and then a dogfight together for that 2 spot. Excuse me. And then we got a bit of a gap, a pretty significant gap back to 4th place. And then from there, my goodness, it's an absolute freight train of about 6 to, at times, 8 riders back there fighting for position.
Yeah, give or take about a minute there is what's going to be separating our 3rd and 4th place, Merritt and Wilkin. So yeah, a little bit of rubbing room, or a little bit of room to work with, a little bit of room to breathe there up from 3rd up. However, that is not the case behind Wilkin. Only 4 seconds back is Harrell when they checked in. 2 seconds back from him is Abney. Richardson, not even 1 second back from Abney. So it's tightening up in the back of the field as well as up there in the front. That's about the only gap we're seeing is that minute between 3rd and 4th there.
Crazy. Outside of that, everything tight. Bryson Neal leading it. We'll see when they check in through mile marker number 8 exactly what that gap is. If it's still B. Neal out in front, we believe so. The number 1 Phoenix Racing Yamaha trying to return to his winning ways after his worst finish of the season. As a matter of fact, a 10th place at Snowshoe heading into the summer break, but still with a substantial lead, 42 points up on the rest of his pro riders. That man in second, a tough day, man, for Walker Fowler. I know we talked about it early, outside of the top 10 last time we saw him.
Yeah, no doubt. That's as tough as it gets for a rider like him. we'll see what he's able to do. This one's not over yet. He's still got a little bit of time. Like we said earlier in the show, if anybody can do it, the most winning rider of all time, Walker Fowler, he can definitely do it. So we'll see. It's not over yet.
Well, it's crazy how much things can change from one year to the other. Last year we saw Walker Fowler last second. He's in Josh Merritt's jersey, Ellie off chest protect. I mean, pretty much a whole mismatched set of gear, protective gear, everything like that. They completely stripped the ATVs on the podiums. That was Mark Notman was back there pulling his hair out. Now it's complete flip-flop. He knew he was going to race all day long, no surprise there, but things just not quite going his way. And unfortunately, we kind of did see that one mistake, not necessarily a mistake, but just something happening off the start. Got to think that maybe led to a little frustration, a little extra sense of urgency, and maybe forced some mistakes later in the race as well. So just goes to show, even the best of the best, things happen sometimes.
And that's what racing's all about. You never know what's going to happen. That's why we line them up. It's not decided.
Well, and if I'm Walker Fowler, in my head, all I'm thinking about is what happened to Bryson Neal here last year.
Exactly.
Flip-flop. So lots of different stories and big changes from year to year, whether it's the top of the field or some of these riders further back in the pack.
No doubt about it. So waiting on those riders that we're talking about, Bryson Neal, Hunter Hart, Josh Merritt, to make their way through here at the mile marker number 8.
Yeah, taking a look at our timing and scoring there on the side of your screen. Shout out to Jordan Berg there, still hanging into that top 20. You see the blue number, one of our amateur riders there. The green, obviously your XC2 as well. But to be this late in the race, it's still inside that top 20. We know Berg's got the speed and he's got the fitness as well. But, man, really putting some things together here today.
Yeah, very solid here today. Holding on. And he's been holding on for quite a while now, guys. About an hour and a half. An hour and 27 minutes into this race so far. So he's standing the test of time so far. So while we wait on these riders, a little off topic of the racing here, but I talked about it earlier. This is probably one of the best fertilized fields that there is in all of the nation.
You're right.
There is.
It is a cow pasture.
Yeah, and there's plenty of cow manure every which way you look. It rained a little bit, loosened some of that up. Yeah. They've got it on the machines. They're spreading it all throughout. So I expect the Jennings to want us back next year to do a little more.
Yeah. Doing our part.
So still waiting here at this mile marker number 8. This one's getting down to the nitty-gritty, about 3/4 of the way through. Turning 29-minute lap times here in this one, at least there for our top 3. From there on out, 30+. And about 30 minutes left here in this one. So
Chief Meteorologist Johnny Gallagher out there doing the rain dance, trying to figure out exactly what's going on.
The anti-rain dance, I hope.
We're in good shape. You know, Zach showed us the radar when things started. I expected Bryson Hill to be in rough shape with those goggles. We expected it to start raining. Saw a few drops there from the drone and saw a few drops through the drone throughout this entire race. However, the bottom's not fell out of it. It's not really rained, not even really sprinkled on these riders. So they've been in great shape. This is not the case that we've saw not only at GNCC, but even here at this property, we've saw much, much different scenarios unfold.
Well, you think about even the start of our AM ATV race earlier this morning. It was a slight drizzle, and then, no, we're going to drop the bottom real quick.
Yep.
But then 10 minutes later, it was actually sunshiny. It was steaming back up. So you literally get rain and shine all in one race.
Had it all here today. Approaching that 90-minute mark now. 3 laps completed. Be 5 laps in the books when it's all said and done. Obviously, almost or knocking on the door of having this 4th lap completed.
Something worth noting, especially in some of the sections that we're going to see these riders in next, kind of some of the same routes that we saw them take, some of the same trail. However, it is backwards, such as that hill that we talked about, those rock slabs. Last year, we were rocketing down that hill. Here this year, we're going up it. So a little bit different for these riders. And I'm sure that you can only imagine how it breaks down the course, going one way and then turning it back and going up the exact opposite the next year.
Well, it's impressive to see the way these riders, I'm still trying to figure out how to look at a track map and understand what is where. And these riders are like, oh, yeah, that's got that one tree with a little mark in it, and then I'm going to go left. I went right last year, but it's so impressive to see how much these guys have the properties dialed in as well, Jackson. And so many of these riders, they were kids. You know, they were our micro and our youth riders from today, and a couple years from now, they'll be in these top classes as well and be just as comfortable at these facilities as well. So it's impressive to see these riders and the small changes. They're able to break them down and get them locked in just as quick as this. Bryson Neal on screen here at the 8-mile mark.
And speaking of being locked in, he is on the move and no immediate pressure behind him as we pan back through. Where is Hunter Hart?
This was the question. Could Hunter Hart maintain that level of pressure on Bryson Neal? And the answer right now is no. I'm waiting to see whether or not Josh Merritt has gotten around. No, there is Hunter Hart still in the number 2 ride, but let's see where the number 4 is. Right there. So now things have changed from offense to defense for Hunter Hart as Josh Merritt on the charge has made up that, not so much made up the time from his early mistake, but Hunter Hart unfortunately kind of sliding back to him. So got to thank the number 4, a new sense of blood in the water, the ability to steal second place away from Hunter Hart.
Well, we looked at those lap times. This last time around, it was Josh Merritt who was the fastest man on the track. And I think a lot of that due to not taking anything away from Merritt. He was charging. He wanted to stay with that lead pack. Bryson Neal, I'm thinking this time around, we get the clock on, it's probably going to have the fastest lap time if he maintains this pace, because he has put a gap on Hunter Hart, and Hunter Hart has got his hands full with Merritt.
And take a look at this gap that we see now back to that 4th place spot. It looks like it's starting to grow a little bit as now our 4th place rider, Wyatt Wilkin, going to pop in the screen here. WW3 making his way through.
Warren Wilkin, a 2.72 the last 3 rounds headed into the break, and a tough way to start the season, but did seem like he was able to kind of find his stride. I know he went right back to work over summer break, like Johnny was talking about, going overseas and doing some racing as well. So Wyatt fired up, kind of resharpened the edges, and he's come out swinging here. A bad start, but he has worked his way into that 4th place spot, and arguably is not out of the question, knock on the door of a top 3. If he catches Merritt, well, then he's pretty much caught up to Hart as well. So things are not over yet as far as the way this podium can shake out.
Seeing some riders make their way by, assuming those are going to be some of our amateur lap riders out there.
Fast forward to mile marker 11. Bryson Neal trying to bring it in, bring out the white flag. I'll just have to do the dance one more time. That's a Jacksonism right there. Stole that one from you. I like that one.
Nice. We use Zach's
Your bill is in the whale.
Yeah.
Bill in the mail.
There he is, Bryson Neal, back on screen now here at the mile 11 mark.
Ooh, did you see that nice little kick he got?
Yeah,
there?
that was. A little kick from the root, use that to his advantage, throw a little bit of style in there for Racer TV. And here we go.
Young man looked very ready to give that pit board.
He was.
It has not written anything.
Nothing on it.
Oh,
I forgot.
Connor out there, I do believe. Hunter Hart now making his way through, and he has still got plenty of company from Josh Merritt. This one is far from over for that 2nd place spot.
Yeah, it looks like even since that last camera shot, Merritt has closed in even more so. So Hart going to start to be riding with a bit of rear view mirrors, trying to figure out exactly where Merritt is going to try to make this pass happen.
Yeah, going to have to ride with some heart as we get deep into this one. An hour and a half in. Absolutely unheard of in most forms of racing. However, here at GNCC, that doesn't even sound like that much.
Not at all. Not at all. It's fun to watch Josh Merritt doing what he's doing, and just the confidence, the success he had last year coming into this season. If you go back a couple of years, talking about Merritt being up there fighting with Hunter Hart, a lot to take on. Well, Merritt's got a win under his belt. He's got podiums under his belt now, and he feels like he can be up there competing with Hunter. And Hunter is learning that right now, that, this is a different Josh Merritt than I raced a few seasons ago. This guy is here to fight, and I think Merritt's going to be looking for some opportunity. Maybe we get into some more of those open sections.
Well, and it's so crazy.
Sideline.
It's so crazy to think that things don't always change physically, right? It's the same bike, same team, same gear, same everything, but somehow the rider looks totally different, and it is that unmeasurable aspect of the confidence and the belief where just one good ride could flip the switch to where all of a sudden you know what you're capable of. And you got to think Merritt, Wilkin, even Jay Shad returning back. Got to think those are examples of that, where once they do it and they're actually up there, they almost take this breath. You see the pressure kind of come off of them, and then they're able to do it time and time again. As a mistake from
big
Hunter
mistake.
Hart. Big mistake. Gets into the thick stuff right there, almost similar to what we saw Walker Fowler do earlier.
One thing that I've noticed here in this one, you saw how Merritt got that kick there. I've saw that a lot from him, especially out in the fields. Not sure if maybe missed the mark a little bit with the setup, maybe you changed something, or maybe just not quite running the same setup as Neal and Hart are having, but a lot of a lot of kicking around there for Merritt.
Yeah, it seems, I saw what you're talking about there, Jackson. All of them getting a bit of a kick, but it seems like Merritt's just a bit more aggressive and almost pogoing him off of the seat, and that throws the weight off balance. You almost saw him get a little bit of shake there at the front end of the machine because he got tossed up so hard. So, like you said, bike setup, these guys have their machines dialed in incredibly. It's so, one of the things Kevin Windham said this year at Loretta's was putting on your bike. Obviously, he was talking about motorcycles, but these top-level athletes, it's just like putting on a sock or a shoe. They're so comfortable with their machines, they can feel, my sock's off. You know, you rotate and spin it a little bit. These guys can do that with their machines in all different kinds of conditions. Shout out Kevin Windham.
K-Dub, that's our buddy.
And possibly just not quite trying to avoid the lines quite as much as the other, but either way, this man is getting it done. He's got the setup dialed in. Bryson Neal going to check in here at mile number 9.
It's just crazy to watch greatness, generational talent. Bryson Neal, you know, he had the goggles, obviously was causing him frustrations that last lap. We were like almost looking for something else to be wrong. We saw him look down at the machine. We speculated on a rear tire issue. He's like, nah, you guys chill out. I'm fine. I'm going to work. There goes Hunter Hart. Josh Merritt with the head down, trying not to take all that roost.
That is hard to do, especially with these big 450cc machines and some of the best tires that you could possibly get for them.
See Merritt.
Good drive from him.
Little more than a lap to go for Merritt to try and make something happen. And for Hart to keep it on the box. Now we got that big gap back to the rest of the pack.
Yeah, the biggest thing, these two do not need to get caught up battling, which they are very aware of that. Wyatt Wilkin going to be pretty far back. We see him on screen now, so that is going to be the gap that you just saw between the two. But nonetheless, they can't get caught up battling, can't do one of those lines that we saw where they get held up on the berm. There's a lot that can go wrong. These riders have to make sure to keep their head in the game here.
Well, you got to wonder whether or not Merritt maybe kicking himself just a bit in that mistake. What are we seeing on screen here?
I believe that is Brandon Owens. I've noticed that for quite a while now. It looks like Owens has had that spot for at least the majority of this lap.
Yeah, I believe we saw Owens. Owens did not pit on that last lap, so he picked up several spots. He jumped in right behind Stephen Harrell and then actually made that pass happen earlier. I know Johnny saw that one coming, and there is Harrell right on cue. So Owens not only making that pass happen, but still looking mighty comfortable. But we'll see how that changes because no doubt about it, Owens going to have to pit on this next lap. Then we see the Coltrane still looking mighty comfortable here at GNCC.
Yeah, he does. Good to have Cole Richardson back out here with us and trying to throw a wrench in these guys' championships, at least these guys' races. Not really trying to throw a wrench in their championship, but just come to shake things up just a little bit. And Cole Richardson, the Coltrane, is very good at doing just that.
Well, we think back to our first year here, Jackson. It was Cole Richardson, Hunter Hart, and Bryson Neal. Those were the three, leaving it all on the track. And at one race on his chest protector, they're trying to beat Bryson Neal. So Coltrane knows how to get the job done. And like Johnny was talking about, fresh off of a race overseas as well. So he's in race shape. He's got to be feeling comfortable on the machine. Why not come do a little racing with us?
Yeah, stoked to see it. To the point about Brandon Owens, he is not pitted in the pro pits. He's pitted somewhere else. So we may have missed his pit, or to your point, Zach, if he hadn't pit, he's definitely going to have to this time around.
I'm thinking that he didn't just because he was shown 11th on that last lap. So, but anything's possible. We'll see here this next time through as white flag waves one more lap around for Bryson Neal. Let's see, do we get a lock-in?
Oh, maybe.
There's a chance.
So a 29.38 last time around. This time going to be a 29.43.
There it is. We got a lock in.
Locked in.
There was a head nod and then a locked in.
So we're going to slow down about 5 seconds that time around as the rest of the gang checks in here. We'll see what it's going to be. And look at that.
There it is. Merritt makes that pass for the number 2 spot. Hunter Hart now in third. We saw Hart with that mistake that allowed Merritt to literally get on the rear bumper. They almost came together at the top of that hill, but Merritt kept that drive going, and it looks like he was able to make his way around. Quick pull of the gobblers there. And then want to see with Owens this next time around. We'll keep an eye on the time in his scoring chart. He'll be in the, I believe, 5th place spot after Wyatt Wilkin checks in.
So while we wait on him, going to take a look here at some of our lap times. Like I said, a 29:43 that time around for Bryson Neal, 29 minutes, 43 seconds. And Josh Merritt going to turn a 30:12 with Hart a 30:15.
Man. There is Wyatt Wilkin through the pro pits. Wilkin almost on the island by himself now.
Take a look at this, boys. A 29:36 versus Bryson Neal's 29:43 there for Wyatt Wilkin. And better that, the fastest man on the track that last time around was Brandon Owens, a 29:34 for him.
There you go. We got that pulled up for you. Nice. Those last lap times on Racer TV. And yeah, how about that? Look at Wilkin, 29:36. Man.
So that should go into what Zach was saying there, that 29:34.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you take a look at, I believe it was a 29:43 for Bryson Neal. That was almost the identical lap time that we saw on lap 1. So just Mr. Consistent, and that goes back to what Johnny was talking about, the calm confidence that Bryson has when it comes to the line now. Whether he gets the start, whether he doesn't, he just seems to know that he's got what it takes to get the job done, whether he starts out front or starts in the back of the pack. Here comes that freight train.
Yep. They're throwing in the Yahtzee shaker right now. Oh, love that.
Abney right on the rear bumper of J-Shad.
Well, Love Tap saying, hey, how are you? I'm right here. Once around. Man, really applying the pressure.
I'm liking the fight that I'm seeing out of Austin Abney here. Kind of a revitalized Austin Abney here.
All right, so take a look at this. Top 15 have checked in here, and it is Walker Fowler now moving up to the 14th place spot. So the Rogers, Ohio native starting to click some off now. I'll give you a rundown here. Of course, Wyatt Wilkin in the 4th place spot. Brandon Owens in 5th. Stephen Harrell in that 6th place position. Cole Richardson in 7th. Jared McClure in the 8th place spot. Chris Borge in 9th. And Jay Shadron now going to round out our top 10. Abney in 11th. 12th is Rush. Glada in the 13th place, and then Fowler in 14th with McGill rounding out our top 15.
There goes Merritt on screen here at the 1 mile mark. Hunter Hart still right there, about a bike or so between them.
Take a look at that. Alex Thiemann, as you can see on the left side of your screen there, going to check in the 9th place spot. That is going to move 10th through 14th down a spot. So Walker Fowler now going to shuffle in around the 15th overall position.
As Paquin and Braxton Gross checked in. They have, yeah. So they've got 4 laps completed. So those guys still sitting 2nd and 3rd in that XC2. I was trying to keep my eyes out for Jordan Berg, see if he's still hanging in there in that top 20. Trying to snag those top amateurs.
Well, and it's crazy to see the gap between your XC2 riders. Thiemann there in the 9th place spot, and then Gross back in the 16th. But that's something that we've talked about with Thiemann up on the podium before. Not always the best off to start, but when he does get those starts, it's not long before he gets into the XC1 riders, and he feels comfortable riding with those guys, doing some battling, making some passes, and he's another one of those guys I would consider, or I would compare to like a Stephen Harrell. He's a sponge. He sits there and says, you know, I sit back, I take some notes, I figure out what these guys are doing that I'm not, and try to apply that to my own riding. Looking good right now, sitting inside the top 10.
It's certainly working for him. Keep it up. Sitting 9th in the OA right now.
Talking a little bit to Johnny G there. He'll be back on the mic here in just a minute. I'm sure he can explain it even better than I can, but sitting there at about that 10th through the 15th place that we were talking about. He believes that possibly that battle's slowing each other down, and that is why we're seeing seeing them shift farther and farther back. So that is something definitely to keep in mind. These riders are going to have to get it figured out, have to get their eye on the prize and off of passing each other. Very, very hard to do. You see these riders, it is very easy to get caught up in one of those battles, shifting positions, and before you know it, the rest of the crew has off and left you.
So hanging here at the 1 mile mark as more of our lead group makes their way through.
We'll get into some bonus racing here by the time this one's said and done. 2 hours. We'll be over that by the time the checkered flag flies. So you get a little bonus racing on a Saturday. Not mad about it. Bryson Neal may have wished it was a little shorter, but He's doing fine. He is doing absolutely fine. We welcome Johnny Gallagher back in the booth. And, man, since Bryson Neal has gotten the fresh set of goggles, he just set out on a mission and up to a 32-second gap last time he checked in. So safe to say, machine's running fine. B. Neal's running fine.
Yeah, he's looking good. He's definitely found his rhythm, and he's right now just putting down a pace. There's some riders further back in the pack, as you pointed out. Obviously, Brandon Owens and Wyatt Wilkin putting in some laps actually faster than your overall leader, Bryson Neal. But that battling that we're seeing back in that 10th through 15th place spot, the other thing about that is these riders are shaking up the positions every time we see them on camera. It's not just a freight train. There's a lot of passing going on. There must be some debauchery going on there as well, because they have definitely slowed their pace looking at their lap times compared to what they were running earlier. Sometimes when you get in those battles, you're so worried about gaining positions. There's a lot of contact being made. Riders are kind of overriding, and that's what can lead to them losing ground. And we now see Tiemann actually to the rear wheels of Adam McGill. And now he can actually see those riders in front of him. That's a carrot for him, although not passes that he needs to make in any shape or form for that XC2 win, but definitely on his mind for the overall. He wants to get up as high there as he can. Another thing I did notice, looked like Walker Fowler's machine with a couple of plumes of steam or smoke coming out, and you can tell, he is just absolutely wedged up the rider in front of him, and he was much further up in that pack in an earlier shot and then dropped all the way to the back of it. So again, you got to start thinking management at some point and realizing, hey, I got to get this machine to the finish line, even if it is in that 14th place spot where he runs right now, because points, they're the name of the game, and he's in a championship battle. But right now, Bryce Neal stretching it out.
Well, here we go. Things getting down to the nitty-gritty as we are white flag waving here. Bryson Neal trying to pick up right where he left off and bring home another win here at the Dunlop Motorcycle Tires Buckwheat 100. Hunter Hart getting shuffled back to the number 3 ride as Josh Merritt continues to charge forward. Wyatt Wilkins still gripping and ripping, trying to see if he can steal away a podium finish as well. Meanwhile, the rest of the field just about as close as they were all race long. We're going to find out how things are going to finish up here in just a bit, right here on Racer TV.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a night. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Whatever you drive, however you drive, AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready. And welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. Mikey Wayne's alongside the Johnny Gallagher, Jackson Burrell, and Zach Herron getting ready to head to the finish line where we'll get some podium celebrations, some post-race interviews following this one. Looking at mile marker number 7, the FMF PowerPoint. If you're tuning in late with us, Bryson Neal, stellar race. Trying to get back to his winning ways. Had some goggle issues for about a lap and a half. About a lap, I guess. A lap and a half. Earlier in this one, had some heat. Was getting all the smoke from Hunter Hart. Hunter Hart hanging with him and got a fresh set of goggles for Bryson Neal. He's tried to check out since then. 30-plus second gap. But Merritt, how about Josh Merritt? Johnny, I was talking about this earlier. We don't live in the past. We're in the present. And, you know, Merritt not surprising anyone right now with his performance, but just a testament to how far Merritt has developed in his pro career to be up there fighting with guys like Hunter Hart and making a pass on him, making it stick, not just by some fluke, but he's holding them off right now. Josh Merritt is. This man continues to show he belongs on those podiums.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's almost a throwback to the Josh Merritt that we saw in 2024, where he was just a consistent podium contender week in and week out. Kind of wheels came off the bus kind of around this time last year for him. Well, not off the bus, ultimately ending up in the number 4 spot, but he was in a very heated battle with Wyatt Wilkin throughout the entirety of 2024. Coming in this year, it's been more hit or miss. He's definitely had some podiums. Hasn't gotten a win like he got in 2024. But coming into this weekend, I know his mindset was, hey, I'm still in the mix. I can still get up there and battle for a top 3 position for the year, but I need to start today. There's only 4 rounds left. We need to start making some points. So what better way to do it than come out, put himself on the box, and right now ahead of the riders that he's battling, including well ahead of Walker Fowler in the points for today. So definitely putting himself in position, sitting in that number 5 spot coming into today in the points, potentially going to move up a spot and definitely get a little closer to Hunter Hart and maybe even closer to Walker Fowler. So definitely a good day for him. Quiet confidence. Yeah. We've seen him make a few mistakes, but he gathered himself up, came right back after it, kept charging, and Hunter Hart not going to let him go easy, though.
No, absolutely not.
He's riding really well today. We saw him match that pace that Bryson Neal was putting down earlier in the race, and that's going to be a battle. Those two seem to always find each other on the racetrack, and when they do, it's usually fireworks.
It's always fireworks. Love to see it. To Hunter Hart, you go back a couple of years ago, he might be thinking, all right, Merritt, you got me. I know you're going to make that mistake. Well, Merritt doesn't quite make those mistakes like he used to. So, and Hunter Hart knows that. So he knows he's got his work cut out for him. So Hunter's going to have to be just as aggressive as Merritt was, try and get a pass on Merritt.
And I think, having those two riders out there battling, again, fireworks always seem to find them. But the reality of it is those two riders very much mark each other on the racetrack. Hunter coming into 2024, let's back up a year, a rider that everybody was like, okay, is this the year? Is this where we see him really battle for the title? Ending the year at number 6, a very lackluster performance for him last year. This year he's been much, much, much better, sitting there in the number 3 spot in points. But at the same time, Josh Merritt still feels like, hey, I beat this guy last year. I want to do it again this year. And Hunter still sees Josh as the guy that kind of stole some of his thunder last year, I think.
Absolutely.
So they like each other. They get along well. But those are, you kind of have that one guy you're like, hey, man, if I got to beat anybody on the track, it's going to be this guy. And I think for both of those two guys, they're kind of that guy for each other.
Yeah, that's they absolutely nail on the head with that one. So, again, watching the mile marker number 7, the FMF PowerPoint. Bryson Neal in control of this one. Merritt in the 2 spot last time we saw, with Hunter Hart in tow in that 3 position. Wyatt Wilkin back there in 4th. He's kind of on an island by himself last we saw, but absolutely charging. I think maybe outside of Brandon Owens, who we believe hadn't pit yet, had the fastest lap time. So you consider that. Owens and Wilkins. I'm not taking anything away from either of them. Just absolutely stellar lap times last time around. Those guys really turning it on, trying to get in that maybe a podium position to wrap this one up.
Well, yeah, and honestly, Brandon Owens' ride, that much more impressive. Again, you throw back, we didn't get it on camera, but he was the rider that kind of caused that pile up in turn 2 when he got sideways in the mud, and was one of the last riders to leave the start line area. So he's not only putting in good lap times, but he's done it coming through traffic. Really shows his speed and confidence today. And a rider that seemingly, after teaming up with that Sturdivant Power Sports, the brothers there, he's really just kind of really coming into his own here in 2025.
Yeah, that was a tough break. It was Brandon Owens, John Glotta Jr., and I believe Chris Borich in that pile up in that second turn, and it just makes, man, you just kind of throw your hands up like it's okay. It's going to be a long day. It'll be a long day for those guys, but you got to hand it to Brandon Owens making the best of it.
There we see Mr. Red Bear himself, JD Higgins on screen. No front plastic, actually having a mishap through the first couple corners. The machine shut off, and they immediately tore into it. They were tearing plastic off. They had the seat off. Presumably found something with the wiring, a loose connection maybe, because I could see they were just kind of working on that, and suddenly I heard the machine fire up and he took off, and it's like, I don't need fenders, I need to get going. So he's out there still turning laps and getting himself into position to battle and gain some points in his class today.
Love to see it.
This thing getting ever so much closer to the finish line here as we wait and we watch at the 7-mile marker, and Bryson Neal has opened up a gap. He is the man in the driver's seat. Just behind him, Josh Merritt making the move around Hunter Hart, but we'll wait and we'll watch. Merritt, when they checked in, was 32 seconds behind Bryson Neal. That's a big gap to make up, but we do see a lot of lapped riders, so just the slightest miscue or catching a rider at the wrong spot on the racetrack could start to see that gap come down, but Josh Merritt really going to have to put in one heck of a charge if he wants to get up there and battle with the Bidwell Bullet.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a charge, to say the least. Bryson Neal, if he can hang on to this one, knock on wood, no announcer curse for him. This one's going to feel good, because this was not the story that we had for Bryson Neal here last year at the Buckwheat 100 with the mechanical issue, and that kind of turned the tide for Walker Fowler. On the opposite side of that coin today is the day where Walker Fowler, man, really needed a win and not really worry about what happens behind you. And that has not been how it has gone for Walker Fowler today. Just a tough day.
Yeah, it's been a dumpster fire of a day for Walker. You know, a bad start. Worked his way up a little bit through the pack. Got himself high-centered on a berm right in front of a Racer TV camera, dropping all the way to the back of the pack. And then we saw him again about a lap and a half later, claw his way up inside the top 10. And now we see him all the way back in that number 15 spot. Not sure what happened there, but just not been the day he's looking for.
Gesundheit. Arrivederci. There you go. Something like that. I butchered that.
I'm not dying. You don't have to say goodbye.
Goodbye, Johnny.
Yes.
No, please don't. We need you.
Well, we need what we need to see is how
the number one.
We need to see the number one, the Phoenix Racing Yamaha, Bryson Neal, to come through here. We are expecting him any moment here to come charging through our camera with a 32-second lead, as we last saw when they checked in with 4 laps complete. Now working their way towards what will be a checkered flag waving and could be another win in the 2025 season for your defending champion.
Bryson Neal trying to snag win number 37. We've not talked too extensively about that all-time wins list. Of course, Walker Fowler sitting atop the all-time wins list with 79. Waiting on the day, maybe we see him grab number 80. I think it'll happen eventually. Chris Borch, 75 wins under his belt. Bill Balance, 67. Barry Hawk sitting 4th on the all-time wins list with 49, and Bryson Neal back with 36. You might say, man, Bryson Neal, before it's all said and done, he's going to move past Barry Hawk. I'm not going to say that, because we said that about Walker Fowler. Man, this guy, we're going to see him get 100.
Yeah.
Things happen. Things happen in a career. Life happens. But nonetheless, Bryson Neal still sitting in some amazing company there, 5th on the all-time wins list.
Momentum is so powerful. And, you know, when Walker Fowler had that 2017 season where he won all but one race, everybody started talking about 10 championships.
Yeah.
Their leader on screen, Bryson Neal coming through. We'll see what the gap is as they come through here. He takes a look over his shoulder. just as we get near the 2-hour mark. Likely at this point, Bryson Neal doesn't really seem to kind of. Oh, look at that!
I was going to say, looking over his shoulder.
I just heard our spotter say about 5 seconds the gap, so something happened to Neal. Merritt and Hart are right there.
Yeah, I was going to say, the way he looked over his shoulder, I was like, and we waited there for a while. It seemed to lend itself to the fact that B. Neal, a mistake by Bryson Neal, and back in control, though. Still has the lead. Thank goodness for that gap. But now he's in a position, Johnny, where can't really afford to let another mistake happen. He needs to get on a hot streak.
He needs to get on a hot streak. Sometimes the wins just stack, but right now Bryson Neal really needs to just kind of hit his lines.
Yeah.
A guy that's won as many races and as many championships as Bryson has, he's surely not shaken by Josh Merritt, but again, we don't, and Hunter Hart back there as well, but we don't know what led to this. Did they just pick up the pace and did they reel Bryson in? On screen, Bryson Neal charging and looking like he's got good pace. Does not appear to be any issues with the machine or him, but Josh Merritt right there in his shadow. We see the bottle there. Levi Cohen offering a little bit of hydration and some motivation, and Hunter Hart right there as well. Folks, what looked like it was going to be a cruise to the finish line for Bryson Neal has now become a 3-rider battle in the final 4 miles here. 3 riders, all with a shot, a very real shot at this win here today at the Buckwheat 100, and what an exciting way to watch this one finish out here for the folks at home.
Shout out to that man that just rolled by there. I think that was Hollywood himself giving us that call.
Wyatt Wilkin with a big charge, too. He's not quite close enough that he's in the mix, but I'll tell you what, if things get rowdy for those 3 riders up front, he may be able to capitalize and find himself on the podium here at the end of the day today, following up his first career win here 1 year ago.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, that was kind of what you were alluding to with Boric, Shadron, Abney, Ronnie Rush, John Glotta, my goodness, and Walker Fowler that allowed Tiemann to move up into that 9 spot. Just those guys battling each other. The guys behind them able to make up some time.
There we see Brandon Owens on a charge. Not getting too much closer to the riders in front of him, but still a great ride for him, sitting in the number 5 spot. And now we see a little bottleneck here at the 9-mile marker. This could definitely play, and this is a very, very, very one-line section. We're going to see it looks like they've got a high line around. It's kind of up on the bank, dropping into the ruts, but that could potentially loom large with our leaders working their way through. And this rider still struggling to get up this very rooted, very chewed-up uphill here. Now he's sideways, but he has gotten out of the main line. Shouldn't be a problem as our leaders work their way in less than a mile. We will see them come through this section. Looks, a shout out to, I believe that's Jay Shadron's parents there. Jessica Shadron on the left, and his dad there on the right. So those guys, they're doing everything they can do to help clear the racetrack and keep the flow of traffic moving as we wait and watch for our leaders to work their way through this section.
Well, keep your eyes on them. It's going to be the number 1, the number 4, and the number 6. That's Neal, Merritt, and Hart. 1, 2, and 3 on the track. And that 30-plus second gap that Bryson Neal was enjoying at the end of 4 laps has been erased, and Merritt and Hart are in the hunt.
Here comes your leader, Bryson Neal. He's got a little breathing room, but not too much. Just a few bike lengths behind the number 4 of Merritt, and just behind, we have now lost Hunter Hart. So that Merritt right there on the rear wheels and pushing hard. Hunter Hart has given up quite a bit of ground there. Not that he's lost a ton of time, but he's lost the draft there, and potentially a lapped rider could get in between, and that could loom large as they work their way to the finish line. There is John Glotta Jr. coming through there at the 8-mile marker, about a mile behind the battle for the lead. Another one of those riders that was wrapped up in that turn 2 melee, sitting in the number 14 spot as they completed lap number 4. There is Alex Tiemann, so he continues to pick off XC1 riders, working himself further up into the overall, already into the top 10 in that number 9 spot.
Tiemann having a career day here for the XC2 as far as that's concerned. If he can hang on for this one, this is going to be one with a lot of confidence heading into those last 3 rounds. But right now it's Neal in control and Merritt in the 2 spot. A little bit of a gap back to Hunter Hart, and be interesting to see where Wyatt Wilkin is in regards to Hunter Hart at this point, as Wilkin was still pushing hard.
Shout out to the Marlboro man, Todd Moscala there, coming by. He is one of our senior A riders there at the 11-mile marker. Just a few miles behind him, or maybe less than a few miles behind him, is an absolute tornado of a battle between the top 3. Bryson Neal holding on to the point position. Josh Merritt literally just inches behind him and lurking in the shadows, just a few bike lengths back, the number 6 of Hunter Hart. New leader we're hearing coming in from our radio. Is it possible? Has Josh Merritt gotten around? And there it is on screen. He is ahead of Bryson Neal. Josh Merritt looking for a big day today. And if you want to talk about pressure, now Bryson Neal making a mistake, allowing a little bit more of a gap for Merritt. And this is it, folks. We're down to the final mile of racing.
I was sitting down. I'm not sitting down for this finish. This is going to be gnarly.
As I mentioned, 2 left riders between there.
Hunter
Hart making his way around one of them. That is so dangerous as you get close to the end of a race. You cannot allow any gap in front of you to the rider you're trying to battle with, because one left rider on the wrong section of racetrack can turn into 5, 7, 10 seconds so quickly. Hunter Hart on the wrong side of those left riders, looking like, unless a big shakeup happens in the next mile, it may be just a 2-rider battle coming to the finish line. But every time we think we've got this one figured out, it gets shaken up.
Crazy.
We saw Bryson Neal make a big mistake in this section of racetrack 1 lap ago. Kind of got up on the edge there, got sideways in the mud. Hunter Hart got a run, almost able to make his way around. Will Josh Merritt be able to make it through here clean? We're going to find out in just a matter of a few moments here.
So there's going to be a story to tell. Did not catch it on a Racer TV cameras, but Merritt able to get around Neal.
There is Merritt, and no pressure from behind.
None.
That is not Merritt.
That was not. Okay.
Yep.
But it did look like, last shot, I could be wrong, it looked like Merritt, maybe the goggles were off. Which if he's out in front, don't worry about it, just send it.
Yeah, you're not worried about vision at this point, especially if you're out front. If you're behind, it can be so hard to stay close enough to make passes when that roost is flying everywhere. But Josh Merritt right now, clear vision, clear track, nothing but lapped riders and a few corners of racetrack standing between him and potentially a second career win. Merritt goes wide. Bryson Neal tucks in to the inside there. Neal definitely not giving up on this one. He wants this win in a bad way.
Yeah, Bryson Neal not one to relinquish leads. And he hasn't. Look at the speed, the pace by Josh Merritt out in front. Merritt leading Neal as they dip out of sight. There is Hunter Hart in that 3 position now with a pretty significant gap. But there's also a gap back to Wyatt Wilkin to the 4 spot.
You see Hunter Hart taking a look over his shoulder there. That can be a telling sign. He's realizing now that he's not quite close enough to battle those guys. Still going to keep pushing, but that's what he's looking back at.
Oh, and the goggles
Wyatt
off.
Wilkin has now gotten to the point where he can actually see Hunter Hart not close enough with the racetrack that is left in front of them, barring a mistake from Hart, to make a move. But he's still charging, and the Reaper will never give up.
No, absolutely not. He's pushing hard. He did have the goggles off, Wyatt Wilkin did. They were on his arm.
Privateer life, man. He's hanging them on his arm.
That's it.
He buys those goggles. He's not going to take any chances. He'll take those home, clean them, and use them again next race. You can tell the riders that obviously have big budgets.
Yes.
You know, the minute that the vision is blurred even slightly, they're slinging those things to the crowd and saying, here's a souvenir. Wyatt Wilkins like, hey, these things are like $200. I'm going to keep them on my arm. We'll clean them up. And again, shout out to this guy in the number 5 spot. Brandon Owens from back of the pack in turn number 2 has clawed his way through and has put a foot wrong, just charging his way through and still absolutely sprinting his way towards the checkered flag.
Yeah, what a career day for Brandon Owens, sitting in that 5 spot.
Let's get that Yamaha Racing live drone in the air.
Yeah, dude, I'm ready to watch
this
battle between Neal and Merritt.
I hope we get the shots, because I can tell you right now, we can't see it, but they're wheel to wheel, side by side, inside and out. They are absolutely all over this racetrack. Each one of them absolutely wanting this win in the worst way possible. Josh Merritt wanting to get the season back on track to what he was expecting coming into 2025. Bryson Neal wanting those extra 5 bonus points to just further stretch out that 42-point lead that he has over his nearest competitor, Walker Fowler, who's having a rough day today, all the way back in that number 15 spot overall. Now it's Harrell coming by our camera shot here at the 11-mile marker, sitting in the number 6 spot. He is still charging, and just behind him comes the battle. Cole Richardson and Jared McClure wheel-to-wheel battling over the number 7 spot. Neither one of these guys wanting to give up anything. You see McClure ducking the head, trying to protect the goggles, and Richardson sitting inside the top 10, right off the couch. Well, back from France, but had a small surgery here recently, just about a month before he left to go to France, and looking strong today and showing that just a year and a half ago, he was a rider that was, oh, look at this.
Oh, here we go, Johnny.
Bryson Neal trying to go around the outside. Oh!
Wheel to wheel.
That was it.
Are you
but
kidding
Josh
me?
Merritt trying to square him up. and now trying to sneak around the outside, and you can see they are absolutely making contact wheel to wheel. Neither rider wanting to let off on this one here. Man, what a battle right to the finish line, and Bryson Neal takes the win. Josh Merritt did have goggles on because you saw him. There's a little bit of discussion going on there.
I think
it looked friendly.
Those looked like smiles.
Yeah,
that was that was a hell of a ride. Let's go run one more, run it back. Honestly, aggressive racing by both of these guys on that last lap. I mean, that was just absolutely sensational to watch. And there's your confirmation.
Yep. to give you an idea, these guys actually play online games together sometimes, during the off time. Bryson Neal right to the watch, stopping the watch so he can go back, look at the training data. Bryson, you don't need to look. Heart rate, 240.
Yeah,
that was an absolute just everything he could do, trying to get around the outside and forcing that pass on Josh Merritt. But such a phenomenal ride for Josh Merritt today. You can see the smile on his face. Happy with that second place finish. You know he wanted to get the win. But when you're battling the Bidwell Bullet, sometimes you got to take what the track and the day gives you.
I mean, that was just absolutely insane to look at Bryson Neal looking beside him in the eyes of Josh Merritt, very clearly in the eyes as he had the goggles off, and just kind of saying, if you want this, you're going to have to earn it. In those last few turns. And
I'll tell you what, we've seen some stuff, but that right there was two men battling.
Yes.
Wheel to wheel, contact was made, hugs afterwards. That's GNCC racing, and that's the big boys getting it done.
That was as cool as it gets. That's what GNCC racing's all about right there. So, man, cannot wait to hear the story. And there's Hunter Hart checking in. Little different body language out of Hunter, but overall, honestly, a good day for Hunter Hart putting it on the box.
Yeah, I mean, putting it on the box, and, Hunter sitting in that third place in points, another podium finish for him today, continuing to keep him in that fight for a top 3 position for the year. He led a lot of this race. He battled with Bryson Neal. He was in the fight right to the end there, looking like some lappers got in between. He may have made a mistake there right before we saw that little bottleneck at the 11-mile marker. Hunter was with Merritt and Neal. Next shot, he was a little ways back, so you could see him doing some hand gestures there, the war tails after. It looked like he said, I got sideways, I got up on 2 wheels, maybe came off the machine, but either way, these 3, this is your top 3 for the day, and what a show these boys put on for us today.
Yeah, this was one of the best ones we've had in a long time. Zach Herron, sounds like Zach is ready with our winner, the Bidwell Bullet. Man, we want to hear that story.
Man, what an impressive performance, guys. Bryson Neal, that's what GNCC is all about. You guys put it all out there on the track. You're banging bars all the way to the line, and then you're hugging as soon as you cross it, man. Take us through what happened. You had the gap, then all of a sudden it disappeared. You lost the lead, but you didn't give up. You took it all the way down the line, took the lead back, and grabbed the win. Take us through what happened on that last lap.
Boy, this Buckwheat track, it was a turn of events today. It had a little bit of everything. When we first took off, the track was real racy, real good, and man, we was having fun. I think we was like top 3, top 4 going to the woods. Had a good time going with the guys. Made 2 quick passes, got behind Hunter, and this track could really bite you, man. It was really slippery. Good thing I had these rocket spindles and precision stabilizer on today because man, I clipped a couple trees and I slid into some stuff and. On a normal day with the stock tie rods and no precision and no rocket hubs, I don't know, man. I think I might have broke something. So I was really happy to keep the bike going. We got to the pit, got around Hunter, and man, we was feeling good. I was worried coming into this race because I honestly haven't rode since Snowshoe until August 21st. That was my first track back. I got sick this past summer. I was sick for 3 weeks when I was supposed to start riding again, and it was the longest I've ever been sick in my whole life. I was down for 3 weeks, and with only like 3 weeks to go until today, with seat time, training, all of that, I was pretty hard on myself coming into it. I quite didn't know where I was. Got a good start, like I said, that was huge, and I just kind of eased into it and just took it as it came. And man, I was really feeling good on lap 3, and then on lap 4, I guess we got a little bit of rain out there because man, I had traction, everything was kicking. And then all of a sudden, just rear end just slid out from under me. I ping-ponged. I was sideways up against a tree in the middle of the track. I actually had to go backwards. It was quicker for me to turn my bike backwards on the track than do another 180, and then there was Josh. By the time I got untangled and how slippery it was, man, he was riding awesome, and man, we was just banging bars the whole way. I don't know, about 9-mile marker right before the 10. There's a split line with a lap rider. The inside was the fastest line all day long, and the lapper rider had, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 bike lengths. I felt like he had just enough time to do it. Josh railed the bottom line, the lapper, he actually ended up clipping a tree in my line, so I had to jump the berm back down to Josh's. Josh got me right there, and I was like, oh gosh, this is going to be tight coming into the finish. And he had just enough of a gap on me in the field section where I couldn't get quite racy and trying to make passes coming down. And literally the last field section right here, man, we just came up that hill side by side. And I swear we were side by side all the way down that corner. And I looked back for a split second. I was trying to see what he's going to do outside, inside. And it looked like he was just going to rail all the way around the outside. So I just kind of blocked him the best I could from the inside. And it was a hell of a race. So me and Josh, we go way back. We've been great friends. Back when we were kids, 7th, 8th grade, freshman year, he came and stayed the night at my house for a week. And we've known each other a long, long time. And Josh is always one of my favorite guys in the class. And I'm pumped for him. That was a hell of a ride and an even better finish with him.
Just a couple of kids that have grown up to be the top level of the sport, right?
You never know. You never know. All you young kids down there watching in the youth races and in the micros, we was just like you guys. We was just like you, just getting muddy, gritty, dusty, everything. You got to go through your hoops, your peaks and your valleys, and you just got to put in your time, and you can be here.
Well, Bryson, it was impressive, especially learning kind of what you were going through over the summer months. How are we feeling about all that? Are we kind of feeling recovered? Are we back at 100%, or are we still trying to work to tip-top shape?
Yeah, I'm feeling good now. Coming into the weekend, I wish, talking to my wife, Brooke, I was like, I just wish I had 2 more weeks. If I had 2 more weeks, I really feel like I'd be right where I need to be. But, coming into this race and having the race that we did today and feeling how I did, we're going to be able to build off of this and just full sails ahead and hopefully stay healthy and keep this bike finishing these next couple races.
Bryson Neal gets the job done, another XC1 win.
Well, there you go. Bryson Neal saying he needs 2 more weeks to be ready, but he grabs the win today. Bad news for the competition.
That's it.
Great news for Bryson Neal fans, but what a battle to the finish line. And I'll tell you what, that was pretty cool. Him talking about, like I mentioned, those guys, youth riders together, coming up through the ranks together, and battling each other, even in, I know they play Halo and all these other games that I don't understand, but those guys late at night playing games out there on the racetrack today, right down to the final corners. Looks like Jackson Burrell is ready for our second-place finisher, Josh Merritt.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with Josh Merritt. Josh, what a ride here today. You left nothing out there. Take us through it.
Man, this is my type of track today. I put in the work in the off 2 months. You're sitting there and you're putting in the work, and you never know if it's enough. And be back up at this podium, it's pretty awesome. To battle Hunter, to battle Bryson, this entire race, getting a good start, and just, us three all together the entire race. I know we put on a show for everyone, and to get second place today, I'm happy, man. That was so much fun, battling with Bryson into the finish line. I think we took the last corner about 10 quads too wide, but we both weren't letting off, and it was fun, man. I can't ask for any more than that.
Hey, man, over the summer break, you've had plenty of time to think about getting back here, going GNCC racing. How's it feel to be back racing, feel to be back up on the podium, and how you feel going into the next one?
Man, I miss those nerves on the starting line. I'm pretty sure my heart rate was 170 before that green flag, and I just thought, when I was sitting on the starting line, I was like, all right, it's just another day at the practice track, and I practice starts, this week with a couple of friends, and got the start. Hunter edged me out just a little bit. I don't know who got the whole shot. I think Hunter did. But, man, just putting in the motions in the summer and then it all coming together makes you so happy. I'm excited to move forward. Got 3 rounds to go. Let's keep going. Let's keep this ball rolling. And, again, that was too much fun.
There we go, everybody. That's your second place, Josh Merritt.
Well, there you go. Heard it from the man himself. Their second place on the day, Josh Merritt, battle right down to the final turns, side by side, right through the finish line. What a show those two put on. Hunter Hart just inches behind them, coming across in that final podium position. Man, that was a good one to watch. Great conditions. Bryson Neal mentioning just how slick it was out there, saying it felt like there was grip, then we must have got some rain. I stepped outside the studio for just a little bit. There was, in fact, some rain falling. Bryson Neal mentioning that he found himself sideways, wedged between some trees, having to go backwards on the course, and that allowed the battle to come back to him. But it looks like we are now ready with our man Jackson, with Hunter Hart, our third-place finisher today.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with Hunter Hart. Hunter, man, what a ride you had here today, showing some serious speed out there. Take us through it from your point of view.
Yeah, it was good. Ripped first whole shot of the year. Second one if you count snowshoe, but it was good. Just speed all day. Made 2 little mistakes, and both of those cost me a position each time. And then last lap I ended up just sucked up into a berm. Type 3 had to roll off there, and then ran these guys back down, which was right on them, and just didn't have the sauce to do it right there at the end. Fitness was good. I just, heat light was on for about the last 2 laps, and last year we ended up melting the stator here while leading. So we basically made the executive decision we were gonna just pull it in, and we weren't gonna melt the stator today in a good position to make some good money and most importantly get some good points towards the championship. And it was good. Third's not bad. Being that close to these guys was good all day. I think we checked out on the rest of the class, which is a nice sight, especially after the disaster that was snowshoe for me. Bounce back to this. It wasn't the win we were looking for today, but it's good. This place is either hot or cold for me, and it was a good one today. And we're just can't have the summer shred be fastest man on Instagram without being fast at the track too.
Hey, that was my next thing, man. You're on fire here today, no doubt. We saw you're very active on Instagram throughout the summer break. Take us through what you've been doing, what you've been up to.
Yeah, man, we basically just took the decision that we were going to focus on content out this summer and just putting out some serious views on it. And, every one of those videos is averaging like 200,000 views. So if anybody wants to partner up, collab on them, shoot me a DM, we'll get you set up in there. But, no, it's good. It's been exciting. Got to ride some cool places this summer, got to shoot some cool videos, and most importantly, got to have the summer shred.
Hey, it seems like it's working good. That's Hunter Hart, your 3rd place, everybody.
Hunter Hart network and politicking right there, man. Somebody, we're going to have to, like Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football. This is going to be Hunter GNCC. I don't know what we call him, but yeah, he does put out some good content. And you know what? I think he kind of came around. That was a mature Hunter Hart interview for me, Johnny. I mean, the win was almost there. Didn't quite come to fruition, but I liked what I heard out of Hunter.
Yeah, absolutely. He had a very clear vision of how things went today, was in position to battle for the win, right down to the final corners, knows what he can do better just 2 weeks from now when we come back and go racing again, and he's very much in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking a look now at that specialized race recap. It's been sprinkling all day long. Whole shot. This was a tight one, but I believe it was Hunter Hart grabbing it. Grabbing the whole shot, at least from the angle I was in. That angle looked a little different. May have been wrong on that, but I know we've got the officials on it. And then out of that XC2 class, man. What a day.
Manowski, man. He's just been automatic on those starts. The steal of Mikey Wayne. Automatic, is that what you used to say?
I think so, yeah.
The whole shot. He's just been grabbing so many of those. But Hunter Hart out front early. Bryson Neal giving chase. Got up to these guys and was able to carry it throughout the race. We saw so many option lines. They even talked about it in their post-race interviews. Side by side, multiple times out there. A lapped rider ultimately changing the landscape of the race on that final lap of racing for Bryson Neal.
Yeah, Bryson Neal, and here's a good shot of it. Those goggles just flapping in the wind. Johnny pointed out, man, it looks awful. It sounds awful. It's just very irritating. And you could just tell after this, though, Bryson Neal showed he did end up making a mistake, which made things interesting. This was the absolute freight train that we had in the XC1.
Yeah, there were 7-8 riders battling over those positions. Bryson Neal seemingly alone out front. And then we see this mistake from Hunter Hart that allows Josh Merritt to get right there. In our next camera shot, Merritt actually able to get around Hunter Hart. And this is the moment where the race changed. Bryson Neal looking over his shoulder and seeing a very, very hard-charging Josh Merritt and Hunter Hart on the final lap of racing, giving up a 32-second lead and then ultimately giving up the lead. Josh Merritt able to make the move and get around with the help of a lapped rider. And then as it comes down to the final miles of racing, it was just a melee and wheel-to-wheel battle.
Yeah, this was an absolute barn burner. There is Neal out in front. We're going to see Merritt right here behind him. And it wasn't long after this as Merritt was able to wrestle that lead away from Bryson Neal. And this is where that I thought was going to be the difference maker. Bryson Neal going a little wide right there, getting up into that berm, but no, did not give up. Hung right in there on that rear grab bar, and the last probably half mile, we got this. Wheel-to-wheel action, the back and forth, and I am 100% positive Bryson Neal looking over saying, if you want it, come get it, but you're going to have to get it on the outside. Not going to work, and Bryson Neal hangs on for one heck of a win.
What an exciting finish. We haven't seen a GNCC finish like that. You can see those two absolute gladiators. hugging it out. Those are men doing men things, and they absolutely crushed it today. Put on a heck of a show for the fans, and they were just giving each other no quarter, but respect between the two of them when they crossed the finish line.
So we take a look at your top 10 results here. Of course, Neal, Merritt, and Hart rounding out the box. Wyatt Wilkin hanging on for a fourth. Brandon Owens, a career day, I think, as far as his XC1 career goes.
Yeah, I think he does already have a top 5, but sitting there in the number 5 spot after coming from way back in a turn 2 accident. Audio?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Oh, I can't hear myself, so if you can hear me, that's good. Brandon Owens in the number 5 spot. Stephen Harrell rounding out that 6th place position. Then Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, Alex Tiemann, Chris Borch rounding out the top 10. Notably missing from the top 10, 17th place overall today for Walker Fowler, meaning a 24-point gain today for Bryson Neal, and that puts him now 66 points ahead in this 2025 championship chase.
So now we're almost to that point. Now we have 3 rounds left.
Yeah.
We have 3 rounds left, so we're not crowning a champion just yet. But
next round,
all
he needs to do is he just needs to score enough points to keep at least a 60-point lead going into the final round of racing.
That's it. So, boy, things brewing up. It's been a while. Hey, we're coming off summer break. Johnny, big takeaways from today.
I think for me, it's just Bryson Neal performing under pressure and extending that 42 points lead to 66, and Josh Merritt and Hunter Hart reinvigorated after summer break and coming out and giving him all he could handle.
That was it. For me, I think Josh Merritt, we've said this before, we're repeating ourselves. He's for real. He's a contender. We were kind of bragging on him in the battle he had with Hunter Hart, and then he had a battle with Bryson Neal. Got around Bryson Neal, fighting for a win where it's wheel to wheel, putting on a heck of a show for the folks at home and the folks here at the Buckwheat 100. And then Brandon Owens, just stellar. And Alex Tiemann, that XC2 class, a 9th in the OA.
Alex Tiemann, when it was all said and done,
9th in the overall, just stellar. What he can do with a good start, pretty phenomenal.
We may get to see him in the XC1 class soon enough.
Oh, I like that. Do you know something we don't?
Well, he's getting close to having enough of a point that he could potentially wrap up that XC2 title here before it's all said and done.
I'm here for it. We've got 3 more rounds of GNCC left for 2025. I think that's going to wrap things up for us here today. We'll take a look at that Racer TV schedule. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll knock a couple of wheels off, go 2-wheel racing, and then round number 11, the Mountaineer, and then we've got the MXON, the Nation's opening ceremonies. Racer TV going to get some broadcast love on that one October 3rd there at Ironman Raceway. So that's what it looks like, upcoming broadcast. And that is going to wrap things up for us here today. On behalf of Jackson Burrell, Zach Herron, Johnny Gallagher, our camera operators, Jeff, Adam, Leah, Adam, that's Adam Adkins and Adam Arndt, Kirsten, Mike, and John, our drone pilot, Gabe Scholl, our executive producer, let me back up, our manager, Dan Reinhart, second engineer, Jack Renner, our engineer in charge, Jordan McFadden, our replay operator, Cam Cotter, our director, Jack Renner, our producer, Adam Gordon. We want to send a big hello, and we love you, man. Don Hampton, hope you're doing well. And our executive producer, Carrie Jo Russell, I'm Mikey Waynes, and you've been watching GNCC on Racer TV.